So, you find yourself on the UnrealEntGaming channel. How fortunate for you. I, Lord Frieza, will spare your life as long as you subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, don't forget to become a member of UnrealEntGaming's Patreon for tons of exclusive content to early access media and much more. Do it now, or else.
And so as our story involving the resurrected gods of destruction continues to unfold, the stakes have only now continued to grow even higher, with our heroes now finding themselves in a very dangerous situation against one of the most ruthless and barbaric destroyers among those revived. Our heroes will encounter an enemy of unimaginable power and undergo challenges that will test their very spirits in battle as we now prepare to enter into the unknown that lurks within Universe 17.
As our story now opens up following the initial events of Universe 16's God of Destruction Ferrix having to do battle against Goku, Vegeta, and Broly, to which upon with the God of Destruction now shown taking the lead as our heroes went on to closely follow behind was when Goku then went on to chime in. You know, I know we kinda started off on the wrong foot a little earlier, but you're actually not quite bad compared to some of those other gods of destruction, and not to mention that you're freakishly strong as well, and so I'm glad that we could all just get along now, you know, with Angel Rizal responding, well now, do you hear that, Lord Ferrix? It would seem as though you may have made a new friend here today, with Ferrix responding, do not be fooled by this offering of breaking bread as a sign of friendship, Saiyan, for I will be the first one to go and tell you here and now that I am by no means your ally, nor am I anything close to being your friend, Ferrix continues, and what was done was only done, all in the name of rites to passage, with Vegeta then having to chime in, oh there, now what did I say? These destroyers are not your friends, nor do they even care about being your friend, Kakarot. What an idiot. And so now get it together, with Goku responding, yeah, but at least we're not fighting anymore, you know, and plus, I don't know about how much longer I can go without putting some food inside of my stomach, so, and I think that we can all agree that it's better for us to go and eat first before we start being so harsh towards one another, because I know you're hungry too, Vegeta. Come now, Rizal, Ferrix went on to then point out, go and serve us all a table for us to eat while we discuss a few important matters at hand in the meantime. Nah, yes, but of course, just give me one moment then and I will prepare us all a feast that will surely be one for us all to enjoy here today, Lord Ferrix. And so alrighty then, if you mortals would just give me 1 second, and I would hereby like to welcome you all to feast upon Universe 16's most delightful and tasty meals, Rizal says. All of course courtesy of Universe 16's God of Destruction, Lord Ferrix. And so what do you think? With Goku responding, hey, wow, just look at how amazing all of this looks, Broly. You guys are all seriously the best for this, and there's so much here for us to choose from too. And so what do you say, Lord Ferrix? Are we allowed to sit down yet and dig in, or what? Goku questions. Cause not for nothing, but we're starving here, with Ferrix responding, yes, by all means, for I am very eager to talk to you all about a few things myself, and so why don't you have a seat? To which not long after that, as everyone was then shown having to eat, with Vegeta being the first to question Lord Ferrix, was when Vegeta then went on to respond, alright, and so now tell us something. While attempting to find our way out of this window realm that you went and threw us both into, I happen to have stumbled across an alternate version of myself that those Veer referred to as Mastered Ultra Ego Vegeta, and it was within a timeline that was said to be vastly different than the one that we are currently in, and so what exactly exactly were we looking at in there, and is it possible for us to interact with such realms, with Goku then having to chime in, "Oh yeah, I'm also a little curious about what it was that we saw, because I was able to see into an alternate future where Goku Black was resurrected, and to make matters worse, he was also shown having to bear 2 new forms, as well as even looking into a timeline where I strangely had a 3rd son who was part Saiyan and part Kaioshin that went by the name of Zykor or Zykior or something like that," with Ferrix responding, "Though it is extremely prohibited to have any other living being outside of the Omni King and Grand Minister intervene and interact with the annals of these realities. Unless an event were to be called on their behalf, then you are never to cross over into such realms or ever go as far as to interact with them," Ferrix continues. "So consider these alternate worlds which the 2 of you have seen as small pages that are attached to a much, much larger book. Separate dimensions within an entirely different multiverse, if you will, for each dimension is shaped by each of the different sets of choices that you all had to make that allowed for you to go and see as to what it was that you both saw. And while these realities run parallel to our own," Ferrix adds, "they are also isolated by a completely different set of laws and are governed by their own unique paradoxes," Ferrix continues, "as only the Omni King and Grand Minister are able to fully interact with and have access to such places, and as I'm sure that the worlds in which the both of you have looked into were more than likely worlds to which the outcome of every action you had made or didn't make had ultimately led to them." Whoa, wait, so if these realities and alternate worlds are all supposed to take place within their own timelines and multiverse, then does that mean that there exists a multiverse that is outside of this multiverse, Goku questions? Because from the sound of it, if these realities and worlds are all supposed to just operate and be governed by their own unique paradoxes, then how many more multiverses are truly out there that exist that go beyond this one? With Ferrix responding, "Well, if you truly want to know, then yes, there is indeed another multiverse beyond our own. In fact, there exists more than just one, an omniverse, which is a grand construct that encompasses multiple multiverses, each with its own unique set of worlds and timelines, as within this omniverse, the possibilities are endless, as there are also likely versions of you all who are either relative in power, weaker, or even stronger than you all as well. But since I went and answered one of your questions, now it's time that you go and answer one of mine as well, beginning with that one there, this Broly. Now, how come this Saiyan mortal was never trained by the likes of Whis or Beerus if the 2 of you have each gone as far as to train under them all on your own?" Ferrix questions. "And why is this Saiyan's raw battle power far more unusual when entering into this berserker state when compared to the power in which you both wield? Because I'm sure that you both know that if it were not for him, then you never would have overtaken me in battle when you did, and so now do tell." Well, the choice for Kakarot and I to train Broly initially was based on his need to understand foundational training first, Vegeta responds, as they also went and noticed his lack of control as well. And so now our role is to help him harness and refine his power before advanced techniques can be taught and furthermore having to be applied onto him, as the reason on why Broly's power is vastly different than our own is likely because I think that Broly's full-powered Super Saiyan form just might be the original legendary form from our Saiyan history, which sets his power apart from our own, Vegeta says. And so because of this, he hasn't fully come around to control this power just yet, with Ferrix chiming back in, "Interesting, and so then that would ultimately mean that if this inexperienced warrior is able to match you both given his lack of control over this legendary strength, then that just means that if he were to grow and control this power along with evolving it, then that just ultimately means that he would become vastly more powerful than either of you despite wielding the power of a god while in its infancy stages. How fascinating. So tell me, does your god of destruction know of this mortal's latent potential as well?" Ferrix continues, "as I'm sure that housing 3 supremely gifted warriors with each wielding a set of remarkable and powerful levels of strength wouldn't be something that your destroyer would take too kindly of, now does he?" With Goku then having to chime in, "Well, actually, according to Lord Beerus, he's hoping that one of us could one day completely surpass him in power, so that way he could finally finally have a rival for him to battle whenever he is bored, or at least that's what he says to us after all. And about this Omniverse that you spoke of, Vegeta went on to then quickly respond back in. Tell me, what happens if someone were to try and traverse into these timelines that me and Kakarot had seen? And is there any other way to know exactly on just how many timelines, realities, and paradoxes are there? With Ferrix responding, if the Grand Minister or any of the Omni Kings were to learn of anyone intertwining themselves or engaging with such constructs without proper approval, then they along with their entire universe would be wiped out immediately. But what I would like to also know are two things, Ferrix continues. The first being on what you both intend to do with your god-wielding powers after you have evolved them, Goku and Vegeta, and with the second being is if Broly here were to somehow control this anomalous power of his and potentially evolve it, then what would that mean for the two of you? Would this ultimately mean that you would no longer be Universe 7's mightiest warriors? With Vegeta quickly responding, well, Lord Beerus continues to insist for one of us to take the role of being Universe 7's God of Destruction, which neither of us are interested in to begin with, and so my goal is simple, and that is to be the very best, Vegeta continues, which also ties into your second question, because if that were to be the case with Broly, Vegeta adds, then that wouldn't automatically rule me out of the equation just because he was able to evolve himself, Destroyer, for there is still so much more that is left for Broly to go and do and achieve before he is able to surpass us in battle, and so he still has a very long way to go before he is able to understand his dormant power, Vegeta continues, and so I'm not going to just go and jump to conclusions and say that he'd surpass us, and that's only because he hasn't at the moment. And so whether he decides to go and train with either Whis or Lord Beerus after the fact would solely and entirely be up for him to decide. But then, it was suddenly now from out of nowhere with an arm shown having to extend on down and grabbing onto Broly's hamburger was when Goku then went on to quickly chime back in. Hey, just what in the world? Is that an arm? And just where the heck did that just burst out from? Ah, yes, there we are now, and so I'll be taking this. Thank you very much, Angel. Jinrei went on to then quickly chime in. And as I was right to assume that this delicious smell was coming from Universe 16. Oh, I remember you. Yes, you're one of the ones that I've seen on Lord Beerus's planet. Well, how convenient then, isn't it? With Broly then shockingly having to respond, hey, what are you doing? That's mine! Well, not anymore, it's not, but don't you worry, as I'll make sure that these go into the right hands from the moment I go back, Jinrei responds, to which it was only seconds then as Jinrei was then shown having to grab onto the entirety of the cloth on the table and pull all of the food off of it was when Broly then went on to quickly lunge by shouting, no, you will not! Those meals belong to Broly, not you! Whoa, Vegeta, we've got to hurry and grab onto him before he gets pulled in! With Vegeta responding, oh, damn it, hurry! Are you even pulling or what, Kakarot? We won't be able to hold Broly at bay here with us like this because Broly's starting to lose more and more ground. With Goku responding, oh, it's no use! We're going to be pulled right in! To which as Broly, Goku, and Vegeta were then shown getting pulled into Universe 17 was when Angel Rizal then went on to respond, oh dear, well there goes our lunch I suppose, and here I was actually starting to really enjoy the meals that I went and brought here as well. Oh well, what a shame, and very unexpected too, with Ferrix having to then chime in, and what a shame it was. Oh well, but at least now I am better able to understand these creatures along with how they operate, and so I've held up my side of the deal by doing what it was that I promised that I needed to go and do, with Rizal then having to respond, nice see, and so after I'm done cleaning up here, shall I go and get the mortals out of Universe 17 then, so that you may go and continue to ask them on whatever it is that you wish to know, Lord Ferrix? No, because as far as I'm concerned, Ferrix responds, they are all Grizzlor's problem to deal with now, but even now while they're all gone, I can see exactly as to why Beerus had approved for these mortals to be within his presence, and that is because I can see a lot of what is reflective of Beerus and his angel within Goku and Vegeta as well. To which all the while in the meantime, as Broly, Goku, and Vegeta were now shown having to crash land within Universe 17 was when Goku then went on to quickly utter, I'll watch it! Oh gosh, see, I knew that this was going to end up happening because whatever kind of force that was pulling us deeper and deeper into that portal was just simply too strong for either of us to gain control of. Oh, then just what gives here? Vegeta then went on to quickly shout upon noticing the angel walk into a cave. nerve of that bastard to just go and snatch our meals away right as we were about to finish too. Well, now he has my attention. Wait, why does he look so familiar? Goku then went on to quickly chime in. I know I've seen that face of his before, but I can't seem to remember as to where. Oh well, wherever it is that I remember him from, we've got to be on guard at all times just in case, you guys. As Vegeta went on to then chime back in. No, I'm done playing these games and demand to know on why he did what he just did right now. To which in the meantime, deeper within the darkness of the cave that the angel was then shown going into was when Angel General then went on to respond. And so now there you are, my lord, for I think that you will find these meals to be quite delicious given how I was able to pull this right out of Universe 16 for you. And so I do hope that you go and enjoy. Hey! Goku then went on to shout from behind. What's the big idea here, huh? We were right in the middle of eating, you know, and just so you know, in case you've missed it, we can all still clearly see you in there, and so now give us back the food that you have stolen from us because we weren't done eating. And just who is making all of that noise? Jinrael, with Jinrael responding, interesting, for we have visitors, my lord. As this was most definitely something that I did not see happening, but now that they are all here, let's go and see on what it is that they want and why they are here. With Vegeta being shown having to then question, you were on Lord Beerus' world when I was waging my battle against Universe 14's God of Destruction Cobras, right? So now tell me, was this another one of those angels that was reactivated upon their universe and God of Destruction being brought back into existence, or what, Kakarot? Well, actually, yeah, it was, but I'm really not sure on what to make of this angel or his God of Destruction since we really didn't have the chance to interact on Lord Beerus' planet when they first arrived, but yeah, he's most definitely one of them, that much I can tell you. As Angel General then went on to step on out of the cave by then responding, my oh my, and here I thought that I had managed to close off the portal behind me just before either one of you were actually shown able to make it on over and onto the other side, but yet here we all are. But nevertheless, welcome to Universe 17, mortals. And since the three of you are already here, what do you say we go and skip the small talk right away then, shall we? And so why don't you all go and start by first telling me as to what it is that brings you here, because without proper approval, well, you mortals aren't even allowed to be within this world. And so what is it that I may go and assist you with, so that way you may all go and take your leave? As Vegeta then went on to quickly shout, man, just who in the hell do you think you are to just burst onto the scene the way you did, and for you to just revoke our celebratory meal, Angel? And so now why did you do it? And you better start talking, because it's been a very long few days for us and we aren't looking to make it any longer than we should. And so now start talking. With Angel General responding, well, I will say that your arrival was rather conspicuous with all of that loud and demanding behavior for answers that you displayed, but let me go and address your concerns so that way I can put you all at ease. For you see, the reason that I had went and snatched the food right from underneath your table was simply because I was instructed to do so, as it also seems as though that you three were just in the wrong place at the absolute wrong time. However, if you just so happen to have any issues with my actions or what it was that I was sent out to do, well then you can gladly go and take them up with Lord Grizzlor instead, as maybe he might have some of the answers to which you are looking for, but I doubt that to be the case because, well, judging based from what I can remember, 2 out of the 3 of you were on Lord Beerus' planet during the battle with Lord Reno, now weren't you? Of course, yes, which only then means that you 3 must be his mortals, aren't you? Oh, as I'm sure that Lord Grizzlor would especially take interest if it's Beerus' mortals whom are going around and making a fuss of things, and so please, right this way if you wish. And so now let me see if I can assist you. Lord Grizzlor, my apologies for interrupting you, Lord Grizzlor, but I do believe that one of our visitors here would like to have a word with you. As Goku then went on to chime in, hey Vegeta, wait, I don't think that this is going to be such a good idea here, especially not after having to battle against Lord Enough, for I don't care about where we are or who this so-called destroyer thinks he is. The fact that he went out of his way to go and directly start a fight with us says enough, and so now where is this beast hiding? Come on out of the dark, destroyer! To which, as Vegeta was then shown making his way towards the cave entrance, was when Grizzlor then went on to respond, who dares to call upon my presence before them and disturb me while devouring these tasty treats in order to satisfy my hunger? For the stench that I smell that is coming from from outside of this cave is revolting, Grizzlor went on to step out from the shadows by continuing. But if my presence is that important for you to go and call me out on, then you better go and make it a good one while you're here, because I was in the middle of preparing for my long slumber by feasting upon the goods which Jinrail had brought me so that I may fortify my strength, and so by interrupting me with such remarks, I just want you to know this, that your insolence will be met with severe consequences, for I will break your bones into dozens of pieces and eradicate your soul if my time is wasted. And so now, was it you? No, for there are in fact 3 of you that are here, and now I want to know on why, because I sure as hell do know that it wasn't me who approved of you mortals having to be here on my planet. And so now, who are these mortals, Jinrei, and why is it that these 2 look extremely familiar back there? With Jinrei having to respond, well, that's because you've seen those 2 mortal warriors before, Lord Grizzlor, as they are all from Beerus's universe, who were, well, unfortunately caught and pulled within the very moment upon having me deliver your meal to you, my lord, with Grizzlor being shown having to turn his back by responding, Beerus's cronies, don't make me laugh with such ridiculous banter, Jinrei. And so now, where was I? Ah, yes, fish, for I require more fish, Jinrei, and make it quick, as Vegeta then went on to quickly respond, it is you've got to be kidding me here. And just why do all of these newly resurrected gods of destruction have to go and pick a fight with us for? Every single time, but that does it, because I am tired of having to go through such disrespect. Oh no, you don't, and just where do you think you're going? Vegeta went on to then dash towards Grizzlor by shouting, don't you ever go and turn your back to me when I'm talking to, don't even think about wasting my time, Grizzlor went on to then quickly respond upon being shown backhanding Vegeta across the face, for you aren't even worthy enough to be a snack, let alone a challenge for me, Vegeta went on to then crash into Goku as Grizzlor continues, and just like your puny excuse for a god of destruction, you never will be, and so now know your place and don't touch me. How dare you, Vegeta responds, to know my place and to not go and touch you, huh? Hey, Vegeta, I think that we should all just go and calm down here a bit before we, but then, it was only right then and there now from out of nowhere as Vegeta was then shown having to fire an energy blast directly at Grizzlor was when Vegeta then went on to continue, well, so be it then, because I'm not going to touch you, but instead, I'm going to blast you into pieces, Destroyer. But it was only just upon with Grizzlor being shown sticking his arm out and catching onto Vegeta's blast was when Grizzlor then went on to respond, you should have watched your tone and the way you went about by approaching me, because now you have my attention, with Vegeta responding, he caught it. Vegeta, did you just feel that sudden burst of power that was coming from him now just too? Because this doesn't look like it's about to end well, as Grizzlor went on to then continue, even though I am nearing my hibernation, I still have a debt to settle with that cowardly god of destruction of yours. However, since he isn't here, then you 3 are the next best thing before I go into my long-awaited slumber, and so you will all have to do for now. As long ago, it was your god of destruction who went and had stolen my lunch for me when we were all in the middle of our hide-and-go-seek game, Grizzlor continues, and since Beerus had once taken what was mine in order for him to feed his own ego, now I will exact my revenge on the 3 of you on his behalf, so that way he could know the pain that I felt after catching him with my meal. And since I do not have the time, nor do I have the interest in caring about what it is that you do or how hard it is that you try, because of what your destroyer did all those years ago, I will now take every bit of my anger out on the 3 of you that I have deep within me, so that way I could go and forever give him a painful reminder on exactly why he was always so extremely nervous to be around me. Following the initial events of both Beast Gohan and Beerus being shown having to undergo Angel of Vatko's training camp and having to be shown having to try and climb a giant wall with chains wrapped around their waists, as with their training now seemingly having to become more and more intense the more obstacles they end up completing, was when Whis then went on to quickly chime in, well, dear me, just look at those 2 go up there. Well, I have to give credit where credit is due here, because I haven't seen Lord Beerus train this intensely along with seeing a mortal such as Gohan keep up with him in an extremely long time, maybe ever if anything. But even now, while they continue to undergo these obstacles, Whis continues, I do happen to wonder on which one one of them will be the first to awaken their dormant powers, because while carrying this kind of serious weight around their waists isn't easy, especially while attempting to climb over their 50th and final wall, as all I could ever really hope for is that neither of them give up along the way, to which as Beerus and Gohan were finally now shown scaling the wall was when Gohan then went on to chime in. And there we finally go, almost there, just one more pull and there we finally made it to the top, as Beerus responds, oh no you don't, you aren't climbing over the edge here before me, mortal, and so there. I never would have thought that training under another angel like this with a mortal as anyone's training partner would ever be this difficult, with Gohan responding, yeah, well, I don't really feel so good after that last drill, but at least we could have a moment to go and catch our breath. But then, it was only now suddenly from out of nowhere as Angel Evalo went on to swoop his way up and having to address Gohan and Beerus was when Evalo then went on to quickly respond, and just who said that the two of you could go and take a moment to catch your breath here, because I certainly didn't. And while you both still have 2 more hours remaining here with me, your training isn't over. Not by a long shot, it's not, and so now get your sorry carcasses back up because we're not done, and so you will be following me. For it was like I went and told you both before we started. Angel Evalo went on to levitate both Beerus and Gohan up above him, and that was anything less than your best, then you can both go and see your way off my training base. And so now you better start thinking with your heads and act fast, or else you'll fry yourselves beneath the lava's surface, with Beerus responding, I'll hurry and use the ground beneath you to pull yourself through, or else we'll be thrown into the fire, Saiyan! To which that was exactly what Gohan and Beerus ended up doing, because with the two now shown having to maintain balance in landing on a small island surrounding lava was when Gohan then went on to respond, oh, there we go, and that was an extremely close call as well, but what exactly does he want us to go and whoa, what in the world, Gohan utters, but how is he already here just waiting for us like this? He's so fast. And so now for your final test, Evalo responds, you will both go and spend the remaining time that we have in combat against one another, and you will not stop fighting until I either say for you to stop, or until you are both finally evolved and past the points of where you are now, and so engage. And engage they did, because with Whis now having to be shown joining Angel Evalo and having to witness both Gohan and Beerus go toe-to-toe was when Whis went on to then chime back in, you know, I'm actually quite impressed to still see that despite everything you've done to train the amount of angels that you did, that you haven't lost a single step along the way of it all. But tell me something, brother, with 4 hours gone and with only 2 more to go, were you at least able to get a glimpse and see beyond the surface in predicting the outcome of who will evolve first, with Evalo responding, well, there is indeed a remarkable sense of growth that I was able to sense coming from both of them, but it's difficult to say for sure given the nature of how their focus and determination levels continue to fluctuate. But on one hand, Lord Beerus has shown an unusual level of dedication in pushing his limits beyond what we've seen in recent times, as his precision in hand-to-hand combat has also significantly improved, in further going as far as to reflect on his commitment, whereas Gohan, on the other hand, has tapped into a new depth of his own potential that continues to swell, and while his instincts continue to sharpen, his power also grows more and more refined, Evalo continues, and as long as they continue to spar, I intend to push them until they've reached their absolute breaking point, even if it means pushing them both to the brink of death itself. And while they near the edges of their breaking point, while time continues to dwindle, that's when it'll finally happen, with Whis further questioning, I see now, and by finally happen, you mean as in what exactly, Evalo? Finally evolving, you mean? Precisely, for that is exactly what I mean, and that is exactly what will happen, or else they will perish trying, and so they will continue to spar until I am convinced that they have reached a new level within their power and abilities, because though they only have 2 hours remaining, the results of today's grueling training will justify their efforts. To which all the while in the meantime, when then venturing back on over within Universe 17 and taking a look as to what Universe 17's God of Destruction Grizzlor and his angel Jinrei were up to, it was only just shortly after after Grizzlor's initial engagement with Vegeta, as Grizzlor went on to address his angel, was when Grizzlor then went on to ask, "I'm curious to know, Jinre, and so now tell me more about who these mortals are and what it is about these three that grants them special status within Beerus' domain. For these aren't the same mortal warriors which you had told me about prior who had bested Lord Reno and Lord Cobras now, is it? Or are these three rather new to us, gods of destruction?" As Angel Jinre went on to then respond, "Well, certainly, my lord, but yes, these two are indeed the Saiyan warriors who were said to have briefly bested both Lord Cobras and Lord Reno in battle. However, who they are by their nature goes a little deeper than what you may end up seeing on the surface, my lord, for you see, those two over there who go by Goku and Vegeta have been trained by my brother Whis and Lord Beerus, in thus making them direct students of their Universe 7's God of Destruction and Angel Attendant," Jinre continues. And to further add on to this ever so interesting layer of information about those two, they are also among the very few living mortals who have managed to harness and wield the powers of both a destroyer and an angel. And as Goku over there, who goes by Kakarot wearing the orange outfit, who was mentored by my brother Whis, has ultimately gone as far as to develop incredible instinctual combat skills, reflecting the traits of an angel, while Vegeta, the one whom just tried to attack you, who was trained by Lord Beerus, rather follows a different path and embodies the raw power and destructive capabilities that are similar to that of a god of destruction. And as their unique skills and traits shaped by their respective masters, Jinre continues, set them apart from any other mortals within Lord Beerus' domain. And although their unique blend of skills and traits cultivated by their divine mentors grants them a special status in Beerus' realm, they each appear to, however, struggle with their own internal demons while pushing to strive and become the very best that they could possibly be, which interestingly also allows for them to each be stronger than a few of the other gods of destruction that we know of, but by no means, of course, does this mean that they each have the strength to be stronger than every god of destruction either. And so while they both can certainly be pushed to the edge of their limits and beyond, Jinre continues, they are still both very far away from being perfect warriors, and so this is why they are minor exceptions to Beerus' rule. But the third and bigger one out of the group, however, who goes by Broly, Jinre adds, is a Saiyan of unprecedented raw power from Universe 7, but unlike Goku and Vegeta, he has not trained under the guidance of my brother Whis or Lord Beerus, for his discovery was rather recent, with his potential, of course, being vastly large but extremely unstable, Jinre continues. And while Broly does not exhibit the godly powers that Goku and Vegeta have achieved, his inner rage and immense power make him far more incredibly dangerous than the other two in combat, and as he also appears to have harnessed the primal strength of his great ape lineage as well, Jinre continues, which significantly, of course, goes on to boost his combat capabilities in making him a far more formidable opponent, but by no means stronger than a destroyer while ignited in battle, as Grizzlor went on to turn his back by responding, "What a waste of space, for one of them being untrained while the other two struggle to maintain consistency. These mortals aren't even worth my time, even if they are Beerus' little lackeys, as they'll go and do nothing after taking their meals away, and so I have other matters to attend to before I am to take my rest and hibernate for the time being, and so do make sure to see these little bugs away and out of my universe so that I may go back to my business, Jinre." Vegeta, listen, Goku then went on to quickly calmly intervene. "This may not be the right place or the right time for us to be engaging against another god of destruction like this, but unless you really want to go and do this, then I'm not going to have you go and do it alone out there, so just please try him." But then, it was only just before Goku even had the opportunity to go as far as to finish his sentence where Vegeta had gone as far as to cut in by responding, "Whether you feel the need to go and jump in or not is none of my concern, Kakarot. But one thing that I will not go and do is I will not have this overgrown animal talk down to us as if all of our efforts throughout the years were all for nothing." To which seconds later, within that very moment, as Vegeta was then shown transforming back into Ultra Ego before dashing towards Grizzlor, was when Angel Jinre then went on to chime back in, "Oh, look there, you see, Lord Grizzlor? I told you that this one here was able to wield the power of a destroyer, and now you could at least see that for yourself and measure this mortal's power in seeing where he stands compared to you." As Goku then went on to quickly shout, "Oh wait, Vegeta, we don't know what it is that we're going up against here, and so you have to, oh darn it! When will these so-called Saiyan warriors that Beerus Beerus continues to house, Grizzlor went on to then look over his shoulder by chiming back in. Go as far as to learn that no matter how much they try and no matter how much they push, that they will never amount to the true depth of power that most of us newly restored destroyers are capable of. You know, for such a very tiny man, Grizzlor went on to respond upon having to be shown grabbing onto Vegeta's punch. I will say that witnessing you wield a power that is similar to mine is rather annoying me, especially since you are extremely undeserving of using it despite the mediocre history of which you share with Beerus. However, I don't honestly care about who you mortals represent or what it is that you stand for, Grizzlor went on to then wind his hand back by continuing, because the longer you creatures continue to remain on my homeworld, the more time you are taking away from my snack time. But then, it was only just then from out of nowhere before Grizzlor even had the opportunity to hit Vegeta was when Ultra Instinct Goku then went on to chime in. No, this isn't the way, and I hope that you understand that we never meant any harm after coming here, but you're forcing our hand here in battle, Grizzlor. And so I'm sorry, but I can't just stand idly by on the sidelines and watch you hurt my friends like this, Goku says. As it doesn't have to be this way, and while we never meant to come here and start trouble, Goku adds, but you were the one who started all of this, and because of your history with our God of Destruction, we aren't going to stand by and have you treat us like this, with Grizzlor responding, you, student of Universe 7's Angel Attendant Whis. Well, although your speed in blindsiding me is commendable for a puny mortal warrior such as yourself, you are all still very much way in over your heads here, and you know it, for I am the one who decides on what takes place within this universe, Saiyan. But then, it was only just upon with Vegeta shown having to swipe away Grizzlor's arm upon also seeing Broly make his way towards Grizzlor was when Vegeta then went on to quickly respond, you know, honestly, you newly revived gods of destruction are really starting to get on my last nerve. And while you are not the first to doubt our abilities despite us being mortal warriors whereas you are all gods by title, if any of you destroyers are going to try and pick a fight with any of us on behalf of taking your anger out on us for the grudges that you have with Lord Beerus, then you've got another thing coming, Vegeta went on to then kick Grizzlor away. And so now tell me, are we still Lord Beerus's lackeys now? Go and steal our meals and disrespect us, will you? Well, that won't fly, destroyer, as Goku then went on to chime in, easy now, Vegeta, look, we tried telling you that we didn't want to go and do this, but you went and forced our hand in this anyway, and so now why don't we just go and put all of this behind us and simply just talk for a second, with Grizzlor having to then respond, as if you truly believe that you could possibly talk your way out of this one is utterly ridiculous, Saiyans. Don't, Jinrei, for there will be no need since we have now crossed the point of no return, and so now stand down, you mortal creatures. In all my time as ruler of the 17th universe, Grizzlor went on to then wipe his mouth by responding, never had there ever been a day where I would live to see mortals draw blood against me in battle like this, but now that I had to see it for myself in order for me to believe it, this now changes everything. And since I originally had intended to go into hibernation before I found myself having to pay that bastard Beerus a little visit within Universe 7, and since I originally had intended to go into hibernation before I found myself having to pay that bastard Beerus a little visit within Universe 7, it would only now seem as though there have been a change of plans, because if these scrawny mortal creatures thought that they didn't have my attention before, well, now they have it, as Vegeta went on to then respond, what? What is this? Is this the first time that this god of destruction has ever went and seen his own blood before, or what? What are you implying here then with what you just said, destroyer? Because you went and brought this all onto yourself, since you should have just left us all alone within Universe 16, as Goku then went on to respond, hey look, let's just all go and take it easy here, okay? As we don't have to go and do this because we never intended to come here to start a fight with you over anything, but had only mainly simply went and defended ourselves after you went and made the first move against us, Lord Grizzlor. And so now you don't have to still cling on to your grudge with Lord Beerus, nor do we have to start a massive fight here, so why don't we just go in? There will be nothing that either of you could possibly do, say, or try that will change the outcome of what is about to happen to you all in a matter of moments, Grizzlor responds. And now that I am no longer feeling feeling sleepy or tired, I am, as a matter of fact, very much still hungry. I don't like the looks of this, you guys, Goku says. But wait, so if you're no longer feeling tired but you're hungry, then why don't we all just go and take a moment to cool down and just get something to eat together then, huh? Oh, you idiots, I don't think that's what he meant, Kakarot. And so if that's how you feel about this within the moment, then what are you possibly going to do about any of it, Destroyer? Well, that's quite easy. At least for me it will be, Grizzlor went on to then get on all fours by responding, because you are all a few seconds away from finding out on exactly what it is that I meant. Vegeta, try and search his feelings, because it doesn't look as though he's bluffing here, because I think he's dead set on following through, with Vegeta responding, I know, I can sense it too, but regardless of the matter, we are hereby left with no other choice than to engage, and so we aren't going to see our way out of this until this is done, as Grizzlor then went on to respond, yes, and while I wasn't expecting to find myself locked in any sort of battle against anyone until I have completed my hibernation cycle, since the three of you are already here, and since you all coincidentally also happen to come from a universe which its god of destruction I utterly cannot stand the sight of and have history with, you have all now given me a good enough reason on why I should go and take action against all of you, as well as also ensuring that I have plenty of food to keep my belly full before I go and take my long-awaited rest. Yes, and while the three of you should have taken the chance to leave my domain without the need to push back against it, I am going to make sure that I have plenty of extra food that's here waiting for me by the time I finally wake back up from my long-awaited slumber. In which, following a brief altercation with Grizzlor now vowing to get back at Goku, Vegeta, and Broly for disturbing his hibernation, was when Grizzlor then went on to respond, and so I'll just go and say that you mortals have made a very grave mistake by disrupting my hibernation preparation and interrupting my dinner when you did, for I never found any of Beerus's mortal warriors to ever be worthy of so much of my time, but you three have earned my wrath, and now you are about to feel every bit of it while I devour you all and tear you all into dozens of tiny pieces. And if any one of you truly thinks that you have the necessary strength to try and stop me all by yourselves, Grizzlor went on to then continue, then I would love to see either of you go and try, because during my time as a god, many of those who stood before me are no longer alive to recall the experience of their unimaginable failure, to which, as Vegeta and Goku were then shown making their way towards Grizzlor, was when Goku then went on to respond, well, it looks like we don't have much of a choice anymore, and so let's move in and give him all that we have so that way we can wear him down like we did with Lord Ferrix and be done with this. Well, then you'd better stick and move then, because I'm not going to have this backfire on us again, Vegeta responds, even if this god of destruction is the strongest among those whom we've battled against thus far. But then, it was just within that very moment, as Grizzlor was then shown having to run on all fours and dashing towards the Saiyans, was when Grizzlor then went on to quickly respond, you little men are in for a world of pain, but before I decide to devour the two of you, I am going to start by devouring the weakest link among your group first, Grizzlor went on to then respond upon clotheslining both Goku and Vegeta, before I go and take my time in tearing your god-wielding bodies in half. And so now stay right where you both are while I go and take care of the common Saiyan with nothing to offer as my first victim. To where that was exactly what Grizzlor intended on doing, because with Grizzlor then shown having to smash his way into Broly while having to drive him further back, was when Angel Jinre then went on to respond, now I see, so Lord Grizzlor has chosen to go and target Broly as his first victim, as it would seem as though he more than likely views Broly as dead weight, likely due to the fact that Broly wasn't trained by the gods in this particular case, and so Lord Grizzlor probably believes that by eliminating Broly will be a far easier task in clearing the path for a far more satisfying confrontation with Goku and Vegeta, Jinre adds, as he ultimately intends to tear Broly apart and devour him first, in thus having to save the true challenge for a little later by going after the students of the gods themselves. And while I am a little curious to see on how these Saiyan mortals mortals are going to respond upon having to wage their battle against Lord Grizzlor. One thing that I will go and say is that Lord Grizzlor isn't known for being like any of the other gods of destruction that these mortals may have known before, because if there is anything that Lord Grizzlor cannot utterly stand the sight of, it is when it just so happens to involve anything that has to do with his food. What the heck just happened? Vegeta went on to sit back up by rubbing his neck. Did that god of destruction increase his speed at the very last second before making contact with us, or what? With Goku responding, I think he did, which only goes to show that he's a lot faster than what we gave him credit for, but we've got to go and get back out there and try to beat some reason into him before it's too late, Vegeta. To which this exact notion nearly became a reality moments later, because with Grizzlor then shown having to raise his body up by having to let out a ferocious roar was when Grizzlor then went on to shout, "Now let this be what you take with you into the afterlife for daring to challenge my authority, Saiyan." As brutally enough now from out of nowhere, with Grizzlor then shown having to chomp on down and having to further be shown biting on down and mauling Broly's entire right shoulder, was when Vegeta then went on to quickly respond, "Kakarot, are you seeing what I'm seeing out there too? Is that god of destruction attempting to try and eat Broly? Or is he seriously wanting to go through with this by trying to eat him? He's completely out of his mind, and so we can't let him go through by doing this." Whoa, he was actually dead serious about what it was that he said about turning us into his lunch for delaying his hibernation, Goku then went on to quickly chime back in. "But even now, we can't just stand around and watch him go and do this to Broly, and so now let's go, Vegeta, before it's too late." And try both Goku and Vegeta did, because despite with Grizzlor's massive size, them being shown having to weigh Broly down and getting on top of him as he was continuously chewing on Broly's shoulder, was when Jinrei then went on to chime in, "Goodness, so and well down the Saiyan goes, and while Lord Grizzlor's sheer weight and size will prove to be far too much for any of these mortal warriors to handle all on their own, and it's because of this that I have no doubt that this is going to mean the end of this Broly, even if the other two will try and attempt to go and save him, for they would already be too late in the end, but I wouldn't truly expect anything less from Lord Grizzlor, since he does have a very unusual habit of devouring his opponents as food during battle, rather than of course simply having to go as far as to utterly destroy them, and well, unless he absolutely needs to, then we will see on how far this will go." To which even then, while Grizzlor kept Broly pinned down on the ground beneath him as Goku and Vegeta were then shown having to attack Grizzlor from behind, was when Goku then went on to chime in, "Are you able to feel that too, Vegeta? And just what kind of a body does this god of destruction carry in order for him to be so sturdy like this? He didn't even move a muscle, but we've got to keep trying here," as Vegeta went on to then respond, "It's like punching into a wall here, but we've got to keep attacking him until he goes on to let go, because if we don't hurry and move this giant piece of trash off of Broly, then he isn't going to make it, and so now get off of him, you lunatic! What's the matter with you? For I will not have you go and eat one of our own here, and so now let go of him, you coward!" And as we can't continue to let you go through with this, and because of your actions, Goku went on to also chime in, "we will go and use every measure that we can possibly find in order to stop you from further having to worsen this situation." But then, it was only just upon with Grizzlor then shown having to backhand Goku across the face and sending him flying backwards, was when Grizzlor then went on to respond, "You tiny men are really starting to annoy me with these embarrassing antics of yours, and so now stay out of my way and go wait your turn." To which, as Goku was then shown crashing right in front of Angel Jinrei, was when Jinrei then went on to respond, "You know, I will admit that you mortals from the 7th universe are a crazy group of individuals to go off and challenge a god of destruction such as Grizzlor to a battle like this, for it was a grave and foolish mistake to provoke Grizzlor by demanding for him to answer your questions and by even going as far as to try to attack him. However, you Saiyans have severely underestimated Lord Grizzlor's power, and it was because of your bravado that has now led you all into a confrontation against him that you all, truthfully speaking, simply will not be able to win," Jinrei says, "for it would have been wiser to let Lord Grizzlor simply have your meals, even if your meals were in fact ripped away from right under you, and because of this, now you and your companions will have to pay the ultimate price. But even now, as you lie there with your face within the dirt below, it would be very much within your best interest to surrender now before you are all torn apart by Lord Grizzlor, because you and I both know that it'll only be a matter of time before he does, and so there is nothing that you can do about it, with Goku responding, "And that's where you're wrong, because I know that we can all go and turn this whole thing around in time, but holding on to a grudge and wanting to go and take it out on us isn't right. And so, because we represent Universe 7, and it's because we represent Lord Beerus and Whis, that we will go and do whatever it is that we need to in order to go and fight to defend it until the end," with Jinrei responding, "Oh, how very stubborn of you, mortal, for I can see that both your destroyer and my brother's willful traits have rubbed off on you, it seems. Yes, interesting, but still very much foolish, as you and your mortal allies have no idea on what you are going up against here." To which, back on over with Grizzlor, as Vegeta was shown quickly having to get behind him and having to attempt to choke him, was when Vegeta then went on to quickly respond, "Why, you overgrown barbaric bastard, get off of him! Have you completely lost your mind here or what? As you should have just left us all alone within Universe 16, because this is all your fault, since you were the one who went and started this entire mess to begin with. And so now let go, God of Destruction," with Grizzlor then having to respond, "Not a chance. Did you mortals truly think that I would submit myself and give in to your demands by just handing my dinner on over to you and run away? Well, keep dreaming, because since your conniving little destroyer Beerus isn't here to take the punishment that I owe him for stealing my lunch during our Destroyer's hide-and-go-seek game, then you three will do for now until I am able to get my hands on him again. And so therefore the three of you may go and resist as many times and as hard as you would like to," Grizzlor continues, "but I am going to crush all of you by the end of the day and do unto you as I have done unto so many of those before you." In which, even despite with Broly attempting to attack Grizzlor from below, as Grizzlor went on to grab onto Broly's strike before headbutting him down and having to jump up in the sky, was when Grizzlor then went on to continue, "And since you thought that it would be a good idea to try and blindside me by using such ridiculously weak levels of power against me, then I want you to go and hold on to your heads, because I am about to go and take you up for a ride, mortal. What the heck do you think you're doing, Destroyer? Where are you going?" with Grizzlor responding, "Isn't it obvious, tiny man? For it's like I said, since you wanted to go and choose to do this the hard way instead of just allowing for me to go and enjoy my meal, I am going to now see to this myself that all three of you are severely punished and utterly humiliated for daring to defy my authority, especially if it comes from Beerus's universe of all places," Grizzlor continues, "and so now you will suffer the consequences of your pathetic actions and accept them as they come. And to ensure that each of my meals are all freshly preserved for once this battle is over, whether you think that you're strong enough to survive what is about to happen to you or not doesn't matter," Grizzlor continues, "because once you end up coming into contact with this next attack, will it ultimately be the very moment where you come to realize that you mortals simply had no chance. And so now witness what a fraction of my power truly feels like for yourself, Saiyan, as I will make sure to personally savor you for a much later time after I'm done. Now, Hakai!" To which, as Grizzlor was then shown launching a Hakai ball towards Broly, was when Vegeta then went on to utter, "No! What are you doing? You can't! Oh no, it's just like when it was when Frieza had turned Lord Siege's attack against me," Goku then went on to look on by shouting, "Broly, don't try and come in contact with that, as he's going to try and consume you within the attack and eradicate you from within." But then, this had only now proven to be too late, because with the gigantic explosion then shown having to take place behind Grizzlor, as Grizzlor went on to then shift his focus towards Vegeta, was when Grizzlor then went on to continue, "And now that he's out of my way for the time being, since you felt the need to go and raise your voice and hand at me the way you did, I hereby am going to choose you to be the first of my main victims, so that you may finally understand that even even while you may have been trained by your thief of a god, that it still isn't going to change the outcome between us, especially with what you've decided to go and do. For this is my universe, and I am the one who sets the rules around here, and so therefore, this is for having your destroyer go and steal my lunch, Saiyan! Time to feed! But before Grizzlor was then shown having to take a bite and chomping on down at Vegeta's face, was where luckily enough now from out of nowhere with Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku making the save and having to kick Grizzlor in the face was when Goku then went on to respond, "That's enough, destroyer! For as long as I am around, I cannot have you harm my friends like this, even if it means that I will have to fight you until the very end," Goku says. There, he almost took a chunk right out of you, but are you okay, Vegeta? With Vegeta sitting on up by responding, "Oh, in all my time, in all my years, never did I ever find myself in a battle where someone was going to try and eat me of all things, but now that does it, because that won't fly," with Goku having to then respond, "Listen, we can't just go and take this lightly anymore, and especially after seeing that this destroyer is willing to go to almost any length if it means getting what he wants, and so we'll have to go and try to play this smart, otherwise we're goners, Vegeta." "Just look at him over there," Vegeta responds. "He's making a mockery of us, Kakarot. They all have, every last one of them, and our situation now is no different, for we must find a way to wear him down before he can go and wear us down in the process." Yeah, I can see that, and although I have an idea that I know for sure will give us the best chance at surviving this, Goku says, I'm going to go and hold it off just in case there is nothing that we can do against him that will work, as Grizzlor then went on to wipe his mouth by responding, "So you runts are a little tougher to bring down than the average mortal after all. Well, good, because I love it when my food attempts to try and fight a losing battle, as I am going to enjoy this far more than either of you can even begin to realize, and so come at me then, both of you," as Jinrei then went on to chime in, "Well now, how utterly foolish for those Saiyans to still want to continue to battle against Lord Grizzlor despite getting a small taste of just how ruthless he can be in battle, because with Broly out of the way, now his sights are set on tearing these two apart, and despite their impressive achievements and the divine powers that they currently wield," Jinrei continues, "I've noticed that they are both still within the infancy of their mastery, for they do not have enough experience while wielding these powers yet to be noted as being worthy opponents all on their own. However, with Lord Grizzlor wielding eons upon eons of battle experience and relentless savagery under his belt, he will undoubtedly be an insurmountable challenge for either of them to overcome while alone, and while they are still relatively new to wielding such divine powers," Jinrei continues, "their inexperience is slowly starting to show, for if they only had a little bit more time to go and master such powers, could they only then potentially pose a threat to Lord Grizzlor in this battle. However, as it currently stands, they are not yet at that supreme level, as Lord Grizzlor will more than likely toy with them for a little first and savoring their struggle before finishing them both off for good a little later on. But even while they still refuse to submit, I'm not sure on whether I'd want to admire them for their bravery or condemn them for their stupidity. But this battle is virtually all but finished in my eyes while I watch. But even now, as I continue to do so, one thing that I will say, however, is despite with Broly being taken out of the equation for the time being, I can't help but sense something very odd about his power while unconscious, Jinrei continues, because rather than feeling his power decreasing after taking such a brutal and devastating attack, his energy instead is slowly starting to increase as a result of all of this, and so I wonder on what this could mean. As with Angel of Alco making it clear that neither of the two are to stop fighting until they both evolve, was when Whis went on to then chime in, "Well, I must admit that I'm starting to grow a little concerned for Gohan here, given what we are starting to see take place out there, and as despite his impressive resilience, it appears that Lord Beerus is beginning to overwhelm him little by little out there," Whis continues, "and while his stamina is being pushed to its breaking point, I wonder if Gohan can muster the strength to endure much more of this as their training begins to wind on down. But what I would like to know from you is, do you believe that Gohan has reached the absolute limit of his full power out there against Lord Beerus, or does he still have some hidden reserves of strength left that lies deep within him that he could potentially draw out and onto the surface in order to finish this contest against Lord Beerus. As Angel of Aqua then went on to respond, well, it is difficult to say because while Lord Beerus' methods of gradually wearing the mortal Gohan down little by little is proving to be quite effective, despite this, Gohan has shown a surprising capacity to challenge Lord Beerus' strength, which more than likely comes from something deep within the Saiyan that he is using as motivation. However, the critical moment for the mortal now is whether he can evolve and unlock his true potential during this moment of great stress and overwhelming pain, because if he fails to break through this glass ceiling, then destruction is inevitable, Evalo continues. For this was never meant to be easy, nor was this ever meant for them to take lightly in knowing of what was on the line, but thus far, it would seem as though Lord Beerus was able to edge this Saiyan out in battle, and even though it wasn't easy, this was exactly what I'd been hoping to see, especially since this was what it was going to take for them to reach their untapped evolutions, and so, the Saiyan is left with no other choice out there. And as for the reasons behind on what may be driving the mortal against Lord Beerus, Evalo continues, whatever it may be likely comes from an internal circumstance, ranging from a variety of things such as pride or protection, though the mortal doesn't come off as though he is doing this for the sake of his own pride, but more than likely it is something that he is looking to protect, Evalo says. Family perhaps, friends, but despite it all, none of it will matter if he isn't able to pull through and descend, for it was exactly on why it was that they were brought here to me in the first place, with Whis responding, interesting, and so now tell me, what if only one of them are able to reach the pinnacle of their potential while the other stagnates and falls behind? Will that still count as a successful training session between them, with Evalo responding, no, not until they have both evolved throughout the time that they have both spent here, because remember, my job was to ensure that both of their evolutions were to be seen here, and not just one, Evalo says, and unless one of them cannot possibly find it within themselves to do it, then they will forever be left behind, for my training course are a one-time thing, and you know this, Whis. And unless Gohan doesn't push through the pain that Lord Beerus is shown putting him through and evolve himself by using whatever drives him into reaching his greatest potential, then the power that I sensed deep within him will forever remain dormant, and his time spent here training with me would have all been for nothing, and so I expect nothing more than progress, Evalo continues. Then since you already have the Saiyans back against the ropes out there, Evalo shouts, and I expect for you to go and finish the mortal off before he could recover if you know what's best for you in battle, Lord Beerus, as I demand for you to hit that mortal much harder than how you were shown doing, which I also expect for Gohan to endure this punishment and push back against you, no matter how badly he is shown losing here, and so now keep fighting and do not stop until I have given you the order to stop. Do you understand? In which this had now seemed to have been understood, because with Beerus then shown quickly having to take initiative in uppercutting Gohan in the stomach by dropping him out of his beast form, was when Beerus then went on to respond, sorry Saiyan, but I have gone through far too much in my time as a destroyer, especially as of recently with the former destroyers having to be resurrected, in allowing for myself to be bested yet again by the likes of you, as you should already remember as to whom you're going up against here, but maybe you've forgotten, and so allow for me to be the first to remind you then. And while I will admit that you possess a very unique and formidable power in this beast form that is vastly different from your father's Ultra Instinct and Vegeta's Ultra Ego, let me go on and remind you that I have been a god of destruction for a much longer time than you can ever even begin to imagine. And because of this, I cannot allow for myself to be overtaken anymore, regardless on if it comes from beings such as Universe 13's destroyer Reno, or if it just so happens to come by the likes of you. And even though you have also served as being a very formidable training partner during our training session, I cannot allow for a greater power than mine to exist, which is rooted within a mortal warrior such as yourself. As my place is to ensure that I am the best, Beerus continues upon Gohan being shown dropping out of his beast form and falling down to his knees, to go back to where I once was without the risk of having what happened to me with Lord Reno to ever happen to me again. And so that is why you must fall, because if I am to go beyond my former glory and become the strongest destroyer among them all, then I will do what I must in order to see this through, Beerus continues. And while you still have much to learn, unlike the angels, I don't see what's so special about this hidden power which Evalo had spoken of. And although you may have briefly displayed a unique power upon having to nearly beat Lord Gardox into submission when you did, your power ultimately still pales in comparison to mine, mortal. As the time for laziness is over, and by seeing your growth and the strength of warriors like you and your father continue to rise, has essentially made me realize that I cannot afford to be complacent, especially not while the former gods of destruction have been revived as well. For I will continue to strive for greatness, and I will crush all those who oppose me within the process if I must, as I will go and do whatever it takes to become the strongest once again, Gohan. For I have stood back and watched many try and wipe their feet on me as though I were their doormats, but no more, Beerus continues. And while we still have another hour and a half remaining, it would seem as though that this will now be cut short since, but then, it was only from out of nowhere just before Beerus even had the opportunity to finish his sentence where Angel Evalo's staff had gone as far as to smack Beerus in the back of the head as Evalo then went on to quickly shout, "Once again, I never said anything about taking a break unless I had given you the order to stop, and so if I didn't tell you to stop, then why did you stop when you were told to continue fighting, Destroyer? Because I certainly didn't say so, now did I? And until I give you the order to stop and unless time completely runs out," Evalo continues, "you are to continue fighting even if you are destroyed or need to destroy, and so that is an order." Well, my brother does have a point, Whis went on to then chime in, and so he's right, my lord. And as I do suggest for you to listen to my brother while we still have the time, for he does know on what it is that he is doing after all, with Evalo chiming back in. And while I do not plan to go and remind you yet again, you need to adhere to the established rules that I have placed here before you, as pushing Gohan to his absolute limits is the only way to see if he can push back against you and meet the challenge at hand. And so now go and do yourself a favor and remember as to why you are here, Saiyan. Evalo went on to then point his staff out by shouting, "For you are fighting for everything that you hold near and dear to your heart, and so now stand back up and continue to fight, or you will be destroyed. Think about those whom you fight for, along with the world that you've sworn to protect, as you cannot let your training here go and be for nothing. And so now rise back up and continue to engage your god of destruction, or else you will go and be destroyed in the process. For if you wish to never fall like this again, then you must endure this painful fire and emerge as a new warrior, and that is an order," Evalo continues. "Now go and continue to apply even more pressure onto the mortal, or I will personally go and see to it that I come over there and apply the pressure onto you myself." So Whis' brother truly wants me to go through with this and destroy the boy now, does he? Well, if that's what it'll take for me to ascend into becoming the strongest god of destruction, then so be it. As Evalo then went on to continue, "And so now go and finish the task that I have placed upon you both to undergo, or I will throw you both off my base and send you right back to where you both were before. Do you understand? So go and reach down deep and find whatever it is that drives you to want to go and do this, and drag your sorry carcasses right back up and fight. As I do not ever intend to train weaklings, and therefore demand for this battle to continue, as you both will continue to give it your all, or else you will both be disqualified and fail." As Gohan then went on to utter, "Oh, Angel Evalo is right. I just can't have this be what breaks me. If I essentially came here to evolve myself in order to protect the ones that I care about." "You are completely out of your mind if you still believe that you can continue to brawl with me now that this beast form of yours has completely given way to my onslaught, Saiyan. But if you still wish to continue to push forward, then I will only continue to break you down until there is absolutely nothing left that remains, and so acknowledge your defeat so that way we could be done." With Gohan responding, You don't understand. I can't just go and fold now and simply surrender what I've worked so very hard for to achieve, Lord Beerus. I just can't. And that is because by the end of it all, what that perfect Cell Max had said about me prior to fighting Lord Gardox this was true, because I can't always rely on my father or Vegeta to come and save the day when the chips are down and stacked against me, as throughout my whole entire life I had often depended on the strength of my father and others to see me through the darkness and into the light, which was exactly what Cell had gone and reminded me of. And while I know that there is something far greater that dwells within me, Gohan continues, I just don't know on how to draw this power out and use it like how I was shown using it against Lord Gardox, as it is because of the strength of my family that goes and gives me hope. And while I cannot continue to depend on my father or Vegeta to always be there to save the day, this is why I have to be the one. This is why I must be the one to step up when all else around me is down. And while I'd give anything and everything to protect them, how could I go and do that when I can't even go and protect myself? As Dad always knew that there was something very special about me since I was just a little boy, as he would always say that I possessed a power that was far greater than any other, and with it, I could never be beaten, and now is when I need that power so I am not defeated, Gohan continues, as no longer can I continue to let myself drown within my own doubts as a warrior, and that is because deep down I know that I have the power to create change. And just as it was long ago when my dad had looked at me and said what he had said, all I would need to go and truly do in order to become the warrior that I was always destined to be is to just simply let it go. To which, as soon as Beerus was then shown winding his leg back before having to kick Gohan, was when Beerus then went on to quickly respond, "A fine speech, Saiyan, but that isn't going to help save you from what you already have coming. Do you understand? For this fight of ours is how did you just wait? What is this?" Beerus went on to question upon seeing Gohan stop his kick. "Oh, now hold on there for just a moment," Whis went on to then quickly respond. "Could this truly be?" "But I don't understand," Beerus went on to then shockingly look down by responding. "And just where in the world did this enormous level of power just come from if he was already out of gas and on his last dying breath just waiting to be defeated? Has he always harbored such tremendous power like this before? Because even if he did, then how was I not able to see this coming from Goku's son before? For I've never went and felt anything like this in all my time, and so what exactly is this?" As even Whis went on to then respond, "Goodness, what a gargantuan burst of power, and here I thought that I've seen it all, but could this be the very thing that you were seeing come from deep within Gohan's spirit, Evalco? Was this the power that you were hoping for Gohan to go and unleash?" With Evalco responding, "Yes, for this was exactly the level of power that I was waiting for the mortal to manifest onto the surface, Whis. And so now we will watch and see what he will do," with Beerus having to then respond, "Oh no, I refuse to believe what it is that I'm seeing to be true because you were finished. And so how did you just suddenly come into existence from out of nowhere like this with such strength, Saiyan?" With Gohan then quickly shown having to lift his head up by then responding, "And that is where you've went and made your first mistake, because what you see unfolding before your very eyes has always been there just waiting to be awakened. And now it has, Lord Beerus, and while I now understand the full scope of what it means to be defined by your own potential, and for it to be grounded in what it is that you fight for, you will be the first to now witness my absolute all-destroyer. For I have come just as far and have undergone far too much just to go and simply lose now, because unlike you, I have something that's worth living, fighting, and dying for." To which seconds later, within that very moment, as Gohan then began to power up in transcending by having to evolve himself even further, was when Evalco then went on to respond, "That's right, good, very good, as this was exactly what it was that I wanted to see happen between them here today. And since the mortal here was the first between them to go and do it, this just now means that Lord Beerus is next to go and do the same," with Whis responding, "Indeed, and what an incredibly massive surge of power this is, as I knew that I went and had seen something come from deep within the boy, but I just couldn't quite go and simply put my finger on just what exactly it was that I had sensed that was coming coming from him, but even now, nevertheless, here it finally is, as Beerus then went on to respond, "So this was the power that I was able to see you briefly use to defeat Lord Gardox when you touched down onto my planet alongside with him. Yes, it all makes sense now," Beerus continues, "as I am now finally able to understand fully on why Whis and Evalo had spoken of you the way they did, as all this time for many, many years now without me even knowing that it was you, you're likely the one who I was able to see as my rival all those years ago," Beerus continues, "because if not you, then who else, especially with a power such as this, but no matter how powerful you are or how strong you continue to get, I am who I am and it's for a good enough reason." Well, that's a mighty fine display of power there, Saiyan, Beerus went on to then dash forward, but let us not forget about the difference between your what the? But he was standing right there and now he's just gone? But how and where? Well, surely this has to be some kind of a trick because there is no way that the mortal was faster than my eyes can keep track of. And so now where did he just run off to? But then it was suddenly just now from out of nowhere as Beerus was now beginning to back up, and from that point them being shown having to bump into Gohan was when Gohan then went on to respond, "Running away would imply that I'd be too afraid to face you, but please trust me when I say that I am no longer scared to go and face anything, Lord Beerus, as the power that you feel and are moments away from facing is a power that only my father had ever had the chance to sense that had been coming from deep within me, and as the true nature of who I am at my very core has now been fully awakened," Gohan continues, "as I am only now able to understand on what it means to dwell within the domain of the gods in power," with Beerus responding, "Why you? And do you honestly believe that you have what it takes to endure such a pressure? Tell me now, mortal, what exactly do you call this newly discovered transformation of yours then, Saiyan?" with Gohan responding, "Yes, I actually do, and since what you are witnessing is my all, I'll just go on ahead and call this Ultimate Beast," Gohan says, "a level and a power that you have no chance in besting, Destroyer, and with my true instincts awakened," Gohan continues, "and with my ultimate power refined, what you see standing before you, Lord Beerus, is the perfect fusion of human and Saiyan might," Gohan says, "as I will go on to make sure that you see exactly what it is that I mean the very moment that you and I re-engage once again, and that much I can promise you. No longer will I ever need to depend on others to save me, and no longer will I ever need to depend on anyone to protect my friends and family," Gohan continues, "because with my true nature unleashed, I will be all that they will ever need," with Beerus responding, "Oh, is that what you truly think then, huh? Because it would seem as though you have inherited a little bit of that pride along with this great deal of power that you wield, mortal, but it'll take far more than a boost in power along with an inflated sense of pride that will be what stops me," Beerus went on to spin around by attempting to kick Gohan, but as soon as Ultimate Beast Gohan was shown having to effortlessly block off Beerus' kick by using his forearm was when Gohan then went on to respond, "And that is where you are wrong once again, Lord Beerus, for it isn't pride that you will hereby be going up against when facing me, but instead, what you will be tasked with in surviving will be the decades of pain and anger that I have kept locked away deep within me that had always been waiting for me to go and set it free." To which moments later in stunning fashion as Gohan went on to speed blitz behind Beerus, and from that point then being shown kicking Beerus right down onto the ground was when Whis went on to then chime in, "Goodness, and just look at the way Gohan was able to move out there when compared to how he was shown having to move before, for I haven't seen Lord Beerus be caught off balance this badly by a mortal in all my time, but even now as we watch this all unfold, is it possible that Gohan has now transcended himself far beyond the gods of destruction given the nature of the level that he is currently wielding at the moment, my brother? And I only ask because from what I can see taking place, unless Lord Beerus were to evolve himself, then I don't see him being able to do anything that would remotely come close in stopping Gohan, and so what do you think, Evalo? Evalo, with Evalo responding, "Well, even though it is still a little too early to say for sure, it is only upon having to observe what it is that we are seeing taking place here where I can safely say that I am now strongly convinced that the mortal has surpassed Lord Beerus in raw power by a large margin. For this new form of his has brought Gohan's full potential out and onto the surface, which was coincidentally exactly what I was hoping that would happen here today, and unless Lord Beerus were to adapt himself and also evolve just as Gohan did," Evalo continues, "then I'm afraid that there will be absolutely nothing that he could do that will be effective enough to bring the Saiyan down just as he was shown doing a few moments ago, and while there is still a chance for Lord Beerus to go and turn things around while there is still a bit of time remaining, if he doesn't go and do what he came here to do and remember why it was that he decided to train here, then the Saiyan will continue to smash him until he is the only one between them who walks away from today's training as being the stronger of the two that is evolved. And while this is everything that Gohan was hoping and wishing that he could be, we will now wait and see on how Lord Beerus will respond against him." As with Broly now briefly immobilized, with Angel Jinrei having to oversee the battle in front of him, was when Jinrei then went on to respond, "And I must admit that watching Lord Grizzlor engage against these two in a 2-on-1 battle like this wasn't something that I was ever expecting for him to undergo, and especially not today since his original plan was to go into hibernation in getting enough rest before having to go and pay Lord Beerus a visit in Universe 7, but, well, even now, Lord Grizzlor's sheer size and muscle density is proving to hold a significant advantage in this battle against those two, and as despite Goku and Vegeta's impressive coordination and resilience out there against him, I'm afraid that their attacks simply aren't having the kind of impact that they were hoping to have, and as judging based on how this is currently going and the way this is looking, Jinrei continues, it'll only be a matter of time before Lord Grizzlor crushes them both and moves on with his plans, as I do still expect for him to travel into Universe 7 and meeting with Lord Beerus, but, well, I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't curious on how this battle that they are currently waging is going to go, because even with the Saiyans knowing that Lord Grizzlor is far stronger than either of them can muster within the moments, when considering on who those two have been trained by, and when considering on how they are likely one of the very few mortals to ever wield such power, I'm more than curious to see if they will be able to go and find a way to overtake Grizzlor in battle, or if they're simply running on their instincts out there against him in hopes of allowing for their ultra powers to be what is strong enough in having to take Grizzlor down for good. To which all the while in the meantime, when then venturing back on over onto the battlefield and seeing as to how Goku and Vegeta were engaging against Grizzlor, was when Grizzlor then went on to quickly respond, "This is just way too easy, but far more entertaining than I thought that this would be. But don't tell me that this is seriously the best that the two of you can do now, is it?" Grizzlor questions. "What a disgrace, for your ultra forms are just pitiful attempts at true divinity, and as I can now begin to understand on why your universe is in such a sorry state that it's currently in, and especially with a destroyer who can't even maintain his own focus anymore on top of it," Grizzlor continues. "But just in case you don't want to go ahead and take my word for it," Grizzlor went on to then grab onto Vegeta's hair along with Goku's arm by then quickly responding, "Then why don't I just go and show you both by using you as examples to further prove my points that no matter what level of power you Saiyans manage to go and achieve, even if it just so happens to be under the watchful eye of your universe's god of destruction or not, and that is you will never come close in amounting to the sheer levels of power that we gods who sit at the highest of valleys have amounted to. And so if it wasn't painfully clear to you little puny mortals before, well maybe now it is," Grizzlor went on to then slam Vegeta and Goku together. "And to think that you fools actually believe that you stood any sort of remote chance in getting the better of someone who was far more powerful than you in this battle was just utterly laughable, but if you're still not convinced that you are both utterly doomed," Grizzlor continues, "and if you can't still see that no matter what it is that you both try and do, that none of it will be strong enough to hurt me, then I want you both to go and take it from me, because if you don't, then you can go and ask your puny god of destruction Beerus for yourselves, and he'll go and tell you. As Beerus knew better than to go and try to pick a fight with me when I was hungry," Grizzlor went on to then slam Goku down on the ground by continuing, "but just look how soft he's grown over the years, which only goes as far as to reflect his laziness within the two of you, mortals. To which seconds later, within that very moment, as Vegeta's body was then shown hurtling across the battlefield as Grizzlor attempted to stomp down at Goku, was when Goku then went on to quickly respond. Oh, you can't just assume that we're your enemies here just because we happen to come from Lord Beerus's universe. As you are making a huge mistake by doing this, and so just try to understand that we aren't here just to simply cause trouble, Lord Grizzlor. And so you just have to try to simply listen to what it is that I'm trying to tell you here, please. With Grizzlor responding, and why exactly should I go and believe anything that you are saying, you little worm? As you were the fools who went and stuck your nose in my business when all you needed to go and do was simply let it go. But since you mortals just simply couldn't let your meals be handed over to me, Grizzlor proceeds to stomp on down, I already vowed that I was going to make all three of you pay, and that is exactly what I'm going to go and do. And because your fate has already been sealed, I'm going to But then, it was suddenly from out of nowhere, with Ultra Ego Vegeta shown having to blast Grizzlor from the side, was when Vegeta then went on to quickly shout, "Enough of these games, you tiresome overgrown maniac! Oh, you, the one who was trained under Beerus directly, why, you cocky little arrogance pest. What are you doing, you fool? Hurry and launch a counterattack while I have him within my sights before he tries to turn this entire thing around on us. And so now hurry it up and figure something out right now, Kakarot!" As Goku then went on to quickly respond, "Right then, and so I sure do hope that this works on him, but here goes nothing," Goku shouts. "Solar Flare!" "What was that just now?" Grizzlor went on to then step back by then quickly responding, "A blinding attack? I can't see." "Yes, he's blinded, Kakarot, and so now hurry," Vegeta shouts. The Solar Flare had worked on him, but we may not have long. As Goku then went on to leap on up by then quickly responding, "Right, and so I'm on it now, Vegeta, so let's just hurry and try to catch him off guard while he isn't able to see." As Grizzlor then went on to respond, "Oh, no you don't, cause now you Saiyans have done it. For you two are really starting to grow a little too comfortable in assuming that you already have me all figured out." Grizzlor went on to then grab onto Vegeta and Goku's skull. "As the two of you may go and assume that you have me all figured out as much as you would like, when in actuality, we are only just getting started, Universe 7. And while you think that you may in fact have a fighting chance here against me, I'm here to tell you both face to face, nose to nose, and eye to eye, and say that just like your puny so-called destroyer Beerus, neither of you will be strong enough to walk off my world in one piece, because you will both be already too far deep within my stomach to be doing so. And so now do you feel it? For I have seen many who are just as rebellious as the two of you come and go, and no matter how hard they've tried to change the outcome of their destinies," Grizzlor continues, "for just as hard as they were shown trying was exactly how hard they were all shown falling. As I am going to ensure you both that there will be no tomorrow for either of you who dare to step foot and touch down within my universe the way you did, as I will go and continue to smash your skulls in until there is nothing left. Do you hear me, you puny little men? For there will be no tomorrow for either of you once this day is through, as I will go and make sure that there will be no tomorrow and that there never will be, mortals." To which even now, as Grizzlor was shown continuously going as far as to smash both Goku and Vegeta's skulls continuously over and over again against one another, was when Jinrei went on to then respond, "Oh, but wait a minute now, and just where in the world did this sudden but yet extremely massive battle power just come from?" This sudden surge of power appears to be coming from this Saiyan Broly as well. Yes, and unlike the powers that Goku and Vegeta went on to display, Broly's power here feels nearly identical to that of a God of Destruction's power through its sheer destructive force, and while it feels extremely unstable and dare dare I even say, very loose with how it appears to be overflowing, perhaps there was something far more to this Saiyan warrior than Lord Grizzlor cared to even realize, Jinrei continues, which could essentially end up being very problematic in the long run if this situation isn't handled accordingly. And while I don't believe that those two over there are going to be strong enough to use their recently discovered Ultra levels to best Lord Grizzlor, who is vastly more experienced than them in battle, now I can't help but wonder if there is something far more to this Broly than what we already know about him, Jinrei says, and especially while possessing such freakish levels of power that I can now begin to sense dwelling from deep within him, which almost reminds me of that of a ticking time bomb just ready to explode. And while he is not known for being directly trained under a god, Jinrei continues, and I can't help but wonder on how deep this so-called power of Broly's goes if he somehow manages to re-engage. Or it's quite fascinating if I just so happen to say so myself, and I will need to go and pay very close attention to that one over there, just in case he were to unleash this power that I'm sensing that's coming from him. But even while this was shown having to happen with Jinrei, as Grizzlor was shown slamming Goku's body on down to the ground before having to lunge his head back before having to bite into Vegeta, was when Grizzlor then went on to shout,
"And now you will suffer, for this is my world, Saiyans, for I am Lord Grizzlor, ruler of the mighty and unbeatable Universe 17. And while my power grows, so does my appetite for more tasty food. So with that said, now give me your flesh, Saiyan. Now hang on, Vegeta. Don't let him go and try to tear right through you like this. And so just hang in there, because I'm trying to go and get to you, but I can't seem to get him off of me," Goku says. "And so now don't let him go and do this to you, Vegeta. Just keep trying to fight back and resist, cause we have to go and try to find a way to win if it's the last thing that we do." What do you think that I'm trying to do, Kakarot? He's too strong, and I can't get him to let go of me, you bastard. Let go of my arm, you lunatic. For I am not a piece of meat just sitting around on your menu, and so now let go of me right now. He's not moving, and at this rate, he's going to tear my arm completely off the bone, Kakarot. I'll never let go of you, Saiyan.
But then, it was only just now from out of nowhere with a gigantic burst of energy now shown having to emanate from behind Grizzlor was when Goku then went on to chime in.
"Whoa, and just what in the world is that? And what an incredibly monstrous energy. Wait, oh no, not like this. It's Broly. He's completely lost all control out there, and unless he can remember as to who we are and what we're going up against here, then this entire situation has just gone from bad to so much worse, especially now that Broly has completely gone berserk out there with no end in sight."
"What was that just now?" Grizzlor went on to then utter, with Jinrei having to then chime in. But of course, for I knew that this was going to be the case involving that other Saiyan, and there it is. And as I knew that this would eventually happen, but I wasn't expecting for it to come so soon, and more notably, for it to actually come from a mortal who wasn't trained by either Lord Beerus or my brother Whis. But even now, with the mortal's intent solely focused on challenging Lord Grizzlor once more, Jinrei continues, this should make for a rather very interesting showcase nevertheless, as it is very rare for Lord Grizzlor to ever find himself in a situation quite like this one that he is currently in, but I still doubt that with such an unstable and unrefined power such as the one that Broly is currently displaying, will it simply go as far as to be enough to make a difference in this contest, especially while Lord Grizzlor has yet to really try out there, Jinrei says. But it was only just upon with Grizzlor slowly being shown having to turn his head and questioning as to what was approaching was when Grizzlor then went on to question,
"Wait a minute, what's that unusual really massive surge of power that I sense rapidly approaching towards my direct.
But then, it was only just now from out of nowhere with full-powered Super Saiyan Broly now making his arrival onto the scene by punching Grizzlor in the face was when Goku then went on to quickly shout,
Vegeta, we've got to be careful because we can't assume that Broly is able to remember who we are or even which side he is currently fighting on, and so we've got to try and keep him at bay here just in case. Well, at least he managed to knock that overgrown behemoth off of me before he was able to do any more damage just now. But maybe Broly was able to remember us, right? You are able to remember who we are, can't you, Vegeta questions? Right? Why are you looking at me like that? Wait, no, you're kidding, right? I'm not your enemy here, you freak! You've got to try to remember who you are, and so what are you about to do?
To which, fortunately enough for Vegeta, before Broly even managed to actually make contact by swinging on down and attacking Vegeta was when Goku then went as far as to use instant transmission in getting Vegeta out of there, with Jinrei then having to chime back in. Very interesting. So the Beast is unable to tell the difference between friend and foe, while also allowing for this power of his to dictate the course of his actions. How very fascinating, Jinrei says. To which, fortunately enough for Vegeta, with Goku then shown quickly having to make the save before Broly was able to do anything to Vegeta, was when Goku then went on to quickly respond, I got you, Vegeta, that was a close one, but now that Broly's completely lost his mind out there, we aren't really left with many other options in being able to do anything on our own to de-escalate the overall situation, but even now we have to hurry and act fast before something happens to Broly, with Vegeta responding,
What the? Oh, damn it. We've went and lost all control of the entire situation out there, Kakarot. Because with Broly now using that berserker form of his, he can't tell the difference between who is friend and who is foe. So, we'll have to go in there and knock him out or try to calm him down, otherwise he'll destroy us both within the process.
Listen, I know that it may not be ideal here, Goku quickly responds, but I think that you and I both know on what it is that you and I are going to have to do here, and so we are left with no other choice, Vegeta, as Grizzlor then went on to respond,
Well, and here I thought that I'd be feasting upon a nicely cooked meal by the time I returned to where I had left you, but I guess I must have taken it a bit too easy on you when I nearly set you into a cold oblivion, and now that you've shown me that there's actually a lot more to your power than I originally thought there'd be, Grizzlor continues, you and I really aren't so different after all, now are we? Because now you have my attention, Saiyan. And so the bigger they are, the more I can eat, because as impressive as this monstrous power of yours is, I can safely assure by having to just simply look you dead in your face and say that you don't scare me one bit, mortal. As I just love it when my prey attempts to try and fight back, and so go ahead and show me what you're made of, big guy.
To which upon that very moment, as Broly was now dead set in having to go after Grizzlor, as Goku continued to plead and having to speak with Vegeta, was when Goku then went on to continue, listen, we aren't left with many other options here, and because Broly allowed for his rage to take control, it's painfully clear to us both right now that Broly is no longer within the right state of mind to be considered an ally to us, and it's because he's out there with Lord Grizzlor all by himself. If we don't try to do something to try and calm him down or stop him like you had mentioned, then Lord Grizzlor will either destroy Broly in the process, or Broly will just simply go and try to destroy us, since he doesn't appear to understand on who is friend and who is foe out there, Goku says. And so while it's clear to us both that we could go out there and try to engage against them separately while using our strongest levels of power, Goku continues, there is no guarantee that we'd be able to stop either of them, and since it's clear that we just can't handle that God of Destruction alone as we are, and while we still can't just bank on Broly being able to go and do this on his own either, since he hasn't been able to fully master and control his power, then we're going to have to do what we always did as a last resort in order to survive, with Vegeta responding,
wait, now hold on for just a moment there. Surely you aren't suggesting what I think you're suggesting now, are you? Because you, of all people, should already know good and damn well on how I feel about that, and so you can just forget it, Kakarot. And so we'll just have to go and find another way to win here, because you aren't going to be suckering me into doing that stupid thing with you again. Well, it's not like we have much of a choice here either, Vegeta, because think about it, Goku says. With this God of Destruction already being far stronger than any
any of the other destroyers that we faced, it's not like we'll manage to go and get very far against them as we currently are, and plus with Broly now completely going berserk out there is no guarantee that he will be able to remember on who we are or which side he is even on, Vegeta. And so, in order for us to further avoid on what you and I both know will happen out there, Goku continues, we are hereby left with no other choice than to go and do what it is that we have to do, Vegeta. Following the initial training session involving both God of Destruction Beerus and Ultimate Beast Gohan, now with Angel, Evalo, and Whis having to look on, as with their final moments during this training session now begins to wind on down, was when Whis went on to then quickly chime in. Well, in all my years, I never would have thought that I ever would come to see the day where this would ever go and happen to Lord Beerus, but I do suppose that this was what you've been hoping to come to see, especially with Gohan's new Ultimate Beast transformation, which is truly remarkable, Whis continues, for his power has surged to unprecedented levels that I never would have thought would have been possible for him to go and reach, as I do also believe that, judging based from what I can see take place out there, that Gohan now may in fact actually be far stronger than Lord Beerus now. But what are your thoughts on this entire situation, Evalo? And more importantly, does Lord Beerus have what it takes to survive this and evolve in response to Gohan's newly discovered and unlocked evolution? And the reason why I ask is because if he doesn't, then I'm afraid that Gohan is going to overtake him as time continues to wind on down, with Evalo responding, "The Saiyan mortal Gohan's new Ultimate Beast form represents the peak of what a hybrid like him can achieve by merging together the very nature of what makes him so unique by comparison to his pure blood counterparts, as this form that he is currently wielding is the culmination of his heritage, creating a force that is both powerful and incredibly potent, as his power now indeed appears to be above that of a destroyer, and with Lord Beerus going as far as to sense this immense power and for him to now experience it for himself," Evalo continues, "has only now went as far as to push him into a flight or fight mode, as this moment will be extremely crucial in determining whether he will evolve to meet this challenge in this Ultimate Beast Gohan, or if he will simply go as far as to crumble under the pressure of falling short to match it, but it'll only be a matter of time now before we can tell," as Whis went on to then continue, "Interesting, and with the amount of time that they both have remaining out there, do you think that it'll still be possible for Lord Beerus to reach his true potential and survive until the very end, or will either Gohan finish Lord Beerus off before he could go and do so, or at least run him down until time expires?" with Evalo responding, "Unless he wishes to reach his former glory and recapture the title that Lord Beerus once held, then he will have no other choice than to push himself even harder. But even while Lord Beerus faces one of the greatest challenges of his existence against the mortal Gohan, I can also start to feel a shift within his spirit, which is a sign that something is awakening deep within him. But if Beerus fails to rise to the occasion and overcome the Saiyan," Evalo continues, "then he will never find the inner strength that he once had to ever become the destroyer that he is hoping to become. And while your God of Destruction had made his choice to not keep up with the training needed to remain where he once was, if Lord Beerus does not find a similar resolve that the mortal had used in order to fully break through, then he will be utterly obliterated as a result of his failure," as Beerus was then shown crashing on down and having to slide near the lava, with Whis responding, "Well, I don't doubt Lord Beerus' ability to overcome such a surprising yet extremely difficult challenge that is placed right down in front of him, and while I know that he hasn't stuck to his training in a very long time before asking me to go and train him again, I have no doubt in my mind that Lord Beerus could still go and do this," as Beerus went on to then sit on up by then quickly responding,
"Oh, and just how in the world could things possibly end up turning out to be like this? First it was Reno, and now Goku's son. Oh, this is just embarrassing to watch, because how could I, the one who was considered to be one of the strongest gods of destruction among them all, ultimately wind up in being reduced to this? Oh, it just boils my blood just having to think about it," Beerus continues, "but I cannot allow for this to be the limit of my potential, especially not against a mortal such as the one whose father and I still have a score to settle. And with the former gods revived, I must not let myself fall behind in having any of those destroyers overshadow me again. You know, I never in my wildest dreams would have ever had expected for a scenario like this, where I was the one who was in control in a battle against you to have take place," Gohan responds, "but maybe now you could understand and see the nature of what my potential is for yourself when I say that everything that my father had
ever spoken about me was true, and all that was ever needed in order for me to reach such a level was nothing more than a push. But how about you, Lord Beerus? Because if I was able to evolve, then why can't you, Ultimate Beast Gohan questions? Because if there was something that you were able to see come from deep inside of me, then why is it that you aren't able to evolve as well? For that shouldn't be the case, because out of everyone that I know, Gohan continues, surely I would figure that Universe 7's God of Destruction would be able to do the same, and so what is stopping you, Lord Beerus? Because if it's not fear that's holding you back, then what is it? Is it doubt that's troubling you? Trauma? Because whatever is pulling you down, you've got to go and let go. As Beerus went on to then stick his arm out by then continuing,
Oh, don't you dare go and try to lecture me on who it is that I am, along with what you think I'd need to go and do in order to advance myself in this battle against you, Saiyan. Because although you may in fact be the strongest living mortal that I have ever seen and experienced in battle before, which includes Goku and Vegeta, that does not ultimately mean that just because you are, that I'm going to allow for you to go and break me, mortal. For there is much more to me that you are yet to be made aware of, but I'll ensure that you go and find that out for yourself sooner rather than later, Gohan, and so now bring it on!
To which it was only upon Beerus now being shown firing multiple energy blasts at Ultimate Beast Gohan, with Gohan being shown deflecting them, was when Beerus then went on to continue.
Go on now, let's just see what you can do now that you've ascended beyond what your father and Vegeta were able to achieve. Because if you think for 1 second that I'm going to yield before you, then you have another thing coming, because a Destroyer God's wrath is unlike any other, and that includes tolerating the toughest of challenges in order to get to where we want to be.
But it was only despite with Beerus' best efforts in attempting to attack Gohan was when Gohan had gone as far as to dodge Beerus' attack by then responding, and that is exactly why you are struggling to regain control against me after dropping me the first few times that you did, Lord Beerus. Because whatever seems to be eating away at you from within is now starting to cloud your ability to fight, Gohan continues. And so whether it's because you are losing to me in battle, or whether it was due to your loss against Universe 13's God of Destruction, Lord Reno, you have to go and take matters into account here and just let it go, Gohan says. Because it was even you yourself that had once said, without a balanced mind and a burning desire to become the pinnacle of what you can possibly be, then all you'll end up becoming is just an empty shell of a warrior that you once were. Gohan went on to then knee Beerus in the stomach before elbowing him back down. And I know that is not who you are at your very core, because just as much as you have helped push me, Gohan continues, I am going to hereby go and do the same until you have awakened the true nature of the destroyer that you wish to become again, Lord Beerus. And if anyone knows anything about letting yourself drift off into the void and neglect their training, it's me, Gohan continues. And that is because I was once there where you are now, Lord Beerus, but within those moments where I felt hopeless and alone, I only then remembered on all those whom I was fighting to protect, and if you don't have anything that you would deem to be worthy of fighting for, Gohan says, then at least you can try and find the resolve that is needed to fight for your own peace of mind. But then, it was only once again now from out of nowhere, before Ultimate Beast Gohan even had the chance to finish his sentence, was where Angel of Aqua had gone as far as to throw his staff and hitting Gohan in the face before then having to tell him, once again, the two of you seem to not understand what it is that I say when I tell you to continue your battle until I have given you the orders to end your training on my command. And so until I've given you both the order to stand down or to stop, you will continue to engage until the remaining time that you both have left is over. Ouch, gosh, that really hurt, you know, Gohan responds. You could have just at least warned me that you were going to hit me with that thing so I'd know to simply continue. I will go and give you no such warnings, mortal, Evalo went on to then point out by continuing. So just because you may have found your motive to evolve and transform doesn't mean that your God of Destruction has either. Now I will not warn either of you again. Do you understand me? Now resume. As Gohan went on to then look on down by then responding, well then if that's the case, then I'm going to leave it all up to this and hope that you'll respond in time with some sort of breakthrough, Lord Beerus. Because if my potential as being half Saiyan and half Earthling was able to guide me into coming this far, Gohan continues, then I can only imagine on where you'd be if you also try to do the same. And so, I just hope you know that I'm not going to hold back with this next attack either, and so I hope you understand, Lord Beerus. In which it was only just upon with Gohan now beginning to charge up for the special beam cannon was when Beerus then went on to say to himself,
This can't be the limits of what I have become throughout the years,
especially for me to fall before a mortal warrior like this with no means of being able to fight back or do anything against him, for this is not something that I could just willingly go and blindly accept either. For I was once known as being a destroyer whose very nature and reputation had commanded the respect of all those who shared a similar title to my own, and so I cannot allow for this to be on how it is that I will be remembered as a god of destruction. So how was I able to do it before? As perhaps Whis was right. To reclaim my title as being the strongest god, I must remember Whis' teachings on allowing for my heart and my body to remain tranquil, while my mind is ever only solely focused on absolute destruction, Beerus continues. But how could I master this ability when all I know is how to do the complete opposite of what it means to remain calm and stable? As perhaps this was maybe on why I was never able to master such a technique and allow for myself to grow in what Whis had been trying to teach me, as perhaps it was my own doubt that had led me into becoming who I am just as I am like this. For Whis had always emphasized the importance of calmness and singular focus during battle, as I had often overlooked it because destruction was all that I knew, but now I must internalize his teachings and free myself of any and all distractions, or else I will end up losing myself within the voids of my own failure forever. Whoa, hold on now, Ultimate Beast Gohan quickly went on to respond upon having to notice something. Could it really be happening? Because I'm sensing a massive shift beginning to take place from deep within Lord Beerus' spirit, almost like he appears to be swelling with tremendous levels of heat that's stemming from his very core. Well, even now, if this is going to be the moment of truth, Lord Beerus, then I hope that you are able to make it count before I blast you. As Beerus went on to then sit on up by then responding, no, Saiyan, for you will not be given the chance to succeed, because despite with you being an extremely prodigious warrior who I may have overlooked in my past once before, I will go and ensure you here and now that I will not be overlooking you or anyone else ever again, especially not while I still have so much left to prove to so many who doubted my ability to do so. To which it was only upon with Gohan nearly shown having to fire as Beerus went on to then stick his arm out in Hakai and Gohan's special beam cannon was where even Whis himself had began to notice a sudden and massive change begin to take place, as Whis went on to then quickly intervene. Now wait just a minute, this isn't anything that I have ever sensed coming from Lord Beerus before, even when he was within the prime of his godhood, and so this is quite surprising, as Gohan then went on to respond, whoa, well would you look at that, what a sudden shift and enormous power that I'm sensing. Yes, that's it, that's the way, Lord Beerus. Now whatever you are feeling deep down within you that might be troubling you or causing you to stray away from your path, just remember to just simply let it go. As Whis went on to then quickly chime back in, wait a second, could that really be what I think it is? Is it possible that Lord Beerus may have done what I've been hoping that he would be able to do for so many years now, Evalo? Well, if anyone would know anything about what this is that we are sense coming from Lord Beerus, Evalo responds, then it's us, Whis, so it's possible. To which moments later with Beerus now shown having to rise back up as a mysterious aura now begins to circulate around him was when Beerus then went on to respond, I have grown very wary of sitting idly by and allowing for myself to become a doormat for others to walk all over me, whether they be mortals or destroyers, and so the cosmos needs a reminder of who I truly am, for there will be no more complacency, no more games. For it is time that I awaken my full potential and remind the entire multiverse on just why I am one of the most feared destroyers that has ever existed. But to do this, I must relax my soul and place my heart at ease like Whis had once told me to do, because if I was able to use this power that even your father other who has currently mastered it can go and use, then I know that I too can regain the focus that is needed to go and use it again myself. For I am Lord Beerus, and I am the very embodiment of both destruction and focus. And as long as I remain, I will never allow for anyone to ever smear my title as God ever again. And while I have grown complacent in allowing myself to be overshadowed once before, Beerus went on to then suddenly power up, now I will rise and show the cosmos on why I am the strongest god of destruction among them all, and to be what I was that I was always destined to become, and that is the best among the absolute best and the most respected and feared deity among them all. Yes, that's the way, and so now let's go and do on what it is that we came here to do. And since you're wide open, here goes then, Lord Beerus. To which upon Gohan now shown taking a swing, it was only just then from out of nowhere with Beerus then shown having to quickly and surprisingly grab onto Ultimate Beast Gohan's punch was when Beerus then went on to respond, I'd go and slow it down and watch what it is that is coming out of your mouth, Saiyan. For you aren't the only one here who wields the ability to evolve themselves far beyond your previous limitations, and so that's enough. For your words will only be able to get you so far at this point, because as strong as you are and as surprising as you may be when standing across from you from the battlefield, Gohan, I am in no such mood to be playing any more games around here, and now that you and I appear to be at our absolute pinnacle of where we would possibly want to be, let us go and now find out and seeing on just which one of us has the mightier power, with Gohan then responding, amazing, you even look much bigger than how it was that you were just shown looking a few moments ago, and so now we're talking. So then, got any cool new names for this freaky looking form of yours, or what, Lord Beerus? With Gohan shown backing up with Beerus responding, I'm not someone who is too fancy on names, but since my resolve appears to have merged together the very nature of my destructive power combined with the already pre-existing knowledge that I had of Ultra Instincts, you can just go and refer to me now as Ultra Beerus, with Gohan responding, Ultra, huh? Well, at least you're not shy on giving yourself a pretty cool name then. Ultra, Whis went on to then question, for even when Lord Beerus was shown to be in his prime, I never recalled him ever having to look like this, which could only mean that he's done it. He was finally able to be shown sustaining himself and combining the lessons that I have taught him since being assigned to him, but is it possible that Lord Beerus could be far stronger than even how he was shown being within his prime? As Evalo then went on to respond, he is, because this now is his prime, and with both the Mortal and the Destroyer now at the apex of their power, they have less than 55 minutes remaining until they can leave, and so now we will watch as they will demonstrate these powers firsthand, as Whis went on to then clap by responding, well, this is just unbelievable! Well done, Lord Beerus, well done indeed! And while I never would have expected for the outcome of your evolution to turn out to be like this, I couldn't be any happier to now see you go beyond as to where you once were, as well as even managing to go far beyond your prime as well. I wouldn't go and celebrate just yet, Angel Evalo went on to then quickly chime back in, for now we will have to wait and see on if they have what it takes to survive and endure the last minutes of their training sessions, to which upon both Ultra Beerus and Ultimate Beast Gohan now shown powering up was when Gohan then went on to respond, well, now that you and I were fully able to go the distance in finding a way to evolve ourselves and having us both come this far, I want to now go and see on which one of our evolutions is truly the strongest, and in order for that to happen, we'll need to go and push ourselves to the very edges of our limits to do it, and so I'm ready, Lord Beerus, because now that I have ascended into a level that allows for me to not only compete against gods, but best them with how I was able to be shown besting you a few moments ago, I just want you to go and know that it's been an honor, Lord Beerus, and so I'm ready, but in case you aren't sure, then I just also want to go and remind you that I hope that you fight with everything that you have and don't hold anything back against me, because I just want you to know personally that I won't be shown having to do so here against you either myself. And now that I'm dead set on having to do this, are you ready? With Beerus responding, as the era of my complacency is now far behind me as we prepare for our final confrontation here, I just want you to know that I promise to push this Ultimate Beast form of yours to the absolute extreme extremes, because not only do I also wish to know on which one of our evolutions is truly the mightiest, but I also vow that I will never again neglect my training after this, for this battle here will be a testament to our true strength in finding out on just which one of us is truly the strongest. And while I now understand on what it was that was hindering my growth by preventing me in seeing the bigger picture, I no longer have any doubts within my mind that I am the stronger warrior between us, Gohan. And for us to wield such power while your father and the others are off dealing with some of the other destroyers elsewhere, I can assure you here and now that I will not be holding anything back against you until this is over. As with our heroes' backs now up against the wall and having to not only deal with Universe 17's God of Destruction Grizzlor, but also now Broly at the same time, was when Vegeta then went on to chime in.
Bro, you've got some nerve asking me to go and join bodies with you after knowing good and damn well that I don't like the idea of fusing with you, Kakarot. And of all the possible outcomes that you could have came up with, you decided to go and reach for this one of all things, as we aren't in a position to be wasting any more time when we can instead be out there and trying to help Broly defeat that destroyer, and so you can forget it, Kakarot. Vegeta, we don't have time to be doing this right now, Goku went on to then quickly respond, because with Broly out there all by himself, on top of the fact that he can't seem to be reasoned with after immediately having to go after you in the process, we can't just go and take our chance out there against them both, and so our only other shot at winning this is to use fusion. But then, it was only just then during the middle of their conversation, with a gigantic explosion now seen having to come from the distance, was when Vegeta then went on to quickly respond. Oh, damn it, you've got to be kidding me, and just what the hell is happening out there for there to be such a massive eruption like this? Oh, darn it, do you see what I mean? And so we can't just go and risk it, Vegeta, so listen. While I know that you aren't a fan of having to join bodies with me when the challenge starts to become far more difficult than either one of us can handle, if we don't put our differences aside and undergo the fusion right now, then not only are we going to go and lose Broly out there, but we'll end up joining him in the process if we don't, Vegeta. As it's painfully clear to us both right now that this God of Destruction is simply too strong for either one of us to go and handle on our own right now, and so, by the end of it all, we will also lose our lives in the process if we don't go and do something now, Goku continues. And so now please, Vegeta, we aren't left with any other choice here, with Vegeta responding, oh, of all the possible outcomes that you could have presented, you instead decided to go and choose and present me with the one and only option that I hate the most. Damn it. And so how do you know that this will even work out there against him, Kakarot? What's your plan here? With Goku responding, well, although I'm not entirely sure on if this is going to work for sure or not, it certainly stands as being the absolute best shot that we have in helping save Broly out there, along with putting a stop to that God of Destruction once and for all. And so please, we can't waste any more time, Vegeta, to which all the while when then going back to Grizzlor and Broly, as they were both shown now locked in a test of strength, it was only just during the middle of their struggle, as God of Destruction Grizzlor was shown having to get the upper hand over Broly, was when Grizzlor went on to then respond, you know, for as strong as you are and with how surprising this sudden burst of power may be, I find it quite amusing on how you think that you can still stand a chance against me while knowing deep down that you have no chance of defeating me, Saiyan. Because when it's all said and done, and by the time this day is through, Grizzlor continues, let's not kid ourselves here and be honest when I say that you are still just a mere mortal who is attempting to challenge a god by the end of the day. But if you still don't want to go and take my word for it all, then why don't I just go and show you on exactly what I mean? Yes, there. Are you starting to now come to understand that no matter how strong that you think you are, that you are nowhere near my level of strength? For not only am I far stronger than you, Grizzlor went on to then push Broly back, but I am also far more aggressive, far more intense, and far more capable than you can ever hope to be, Saiyan. And now that you're starting to see that you have no chance in overpowering me in battle, how exactly are you going to respond, mortal? Well, this is very interesting to watch unfold, because while Lord Grizzlor's strength, size, and muscle advantages over the Saiyan are extremely evident in watching Lord Grizzlor overtake him, Angel Generate went on to then chime in, Broly's refusal to submit or stay down against Lord Grizzlor is truly a remarkable display of resilience when compared to both Goku and Vegeta,
and with every push that Lord Grizzlor makes, Broly's fury and intensity only appears to be growing stronger along the way, because although Broly may not be fully aware of what it is that is taking place due to his innate rage that is shown having to fully take over his mind, Broly's indomitable will, which appears to be driven by the very same rage that continues to thrust him forward, is what also appears to be keeping him alive. And even though I would be lying if I said that I didn't find this contest between them to be quite entertaining, when up against Lord Grizzlor's sheer might alone, there is no amount of rage that Broly can muster within himself that will be strong enough to overtake Lord Grizzlor in battle. But even now, while the Saiyan continues to resist Lord Grizzlor in his attempts to try and fight back, and I don't think that this is going to do him any good in the long run, especially after knowing on just how dangerous Lord Grizzlor can be, the more he is essentially met by the resistance of his enemies. But I am in the meantime, however, actually curious on what the other two mortals are up to, since they both appear to be surprisingly quiet while their allies going up against Lord Grizzlor all by themselves. And so now I can't help but wonder, to which upon, as Grizzlor was then shown having to backhand Broly across the face and regaining full control over their battle, was when Grizzlor then went on to chime back in.
Oh, so you think you're tough now, do you, mortal? Well, allow for me to go and remind you that you are nothing but dead meat while in my universe, and as big as you are and as strong as you think that you may be, let it go and be compared to you right now that not only am I much bigger than you, but I am much stronger, much tougher, and I am far more aggressively cunning when compared to the likes of you. For you and your kind from the 7th could never come close in reaching the kind of power that you'd hope to one day achieve. Especially not against me, you won't.
Grizzlor went on to then kick Broly down onto the ground.
As I'd rather perish into a cold oblivion before I would ever allow for myself to be overtaken and bested by the very prey that I am hunting, let alone in having them come from Universe 7 of all places on top of it all. And so, you can go and get as angry as much as you want, for your aggression doesn't scare me.
But then, it was only just then with Broly shown having to lunge his arm forward and having to grab onto Grizzlor's neck was when Broly then went on to utter,
I'm going to tear you into pieces. Well, still have a bit of hope that lies within that soul of yours now, do you, Grizzlor responds? And for you to go and dare to raise your hand and threaten me with such pathetic and empty threats makes me sick. And so your aim is to go and do what again? Tear me into pieces, huh? No, I don't think so, Grizzlor went on to then remove Broly's hand. And although I will give you a little bit of credit for still attempting to fight back and knowing that you can't win, what I would want to know, if you're even smart enough to put more than just a sentence together, is how would you like for me to go and take you out? Decisions, am I right? So what do you think I should go and do, Grizzlor questions? Shall I go ahead and continue to pummel you to death, or should I cook you beneath the weight of my destructive power and savor you for later? Or maybe, just maybe, Grizzlor went on to then punch Broly in the face before having to hold on to his arm. How about I go and crack you open like an egg by breaking every bone in your body, starting from the top and working our way right back down to the very bottom. Yeah, let's go and do that, because I'm really liking the sound of that now, more so than anything else. And so now let's go. To which upon Grizzlor then shown having to get behind Broly before being shown muscling him up was when Angel Jinray then went on to chime back in. Now hold on there, is Lord Grizzlor going for what I think he's about to go for? Because this most certainly looks similar to the way he would usually go and perform this move, and well, but of course, Angel Jinray went on to then continue, for I do believe that the last time that I went and had watched Lord Grizzlor go and use this move on someone, it was, I believe, against Universe 14's destroyer Lord Cobras, as that had almost resulted in Lord Grizzlor nearly having to break Lord Cobras' neck when it happened. But despite the fact of knowing that Lord Grizzlor was going to win, Angel Jinray went on to then continue, and I must say that I'm rather surprised to have witnessed such creatures emerge from Lord Beerus' universe the way they did, because even though they are a wild bunch of mortals, I never would have guessed that Beerus' universe would house such impressive warriors such as these. But nevertheless, with the mortal Broly seemingly locked within Lord Grizzlor's vices while the other two remain distant and eerily absent from this battle, and I will go
go as far as to give this battle a few more minutes at best before Lord Grizzlor decides to finally put an end to them once and for all, to which as Grizzlor was then shown suplexing Broly once again, it was only just upon with Grizzlor being shown having to leap up towards the sky while keeping Broly locked within his vices was when Grizzlor then went on to continue. And here you were said to be the wild card of the bunch. Well, so much for that now, right, mortal? Because if there's any lesson that you should have taken before engaging against me within my universe, then it should have been the one where you went and took the knee and bowed your head while begging for your freedom to be granted. Because so as long as the three of you remain within my universe, you will never see the light of day within Universe 7 ever again, and that's a promise. To which it was seconds later within that very moment as Grizzlor was shown having to suplex Broly's body down onto the ground with tremendous amounts of force before having to be shown standing over him was when Grizzlor then went on to continue. What's wrong, Saiyan? Had enough? For you fools have absolutely no idea on the mess you've made by getting in the way and interfering with my hibernation. But that's okay, because there's more. And so what's wrong? You didn't think that this was going to be over so quickly now, did you, Saiyan? No, I don't think so, because let me be the first to go and tell you that you are in for a treat. Grizzlor went on to then kick Broly away. And with all of that aggression and with all of that promise of giving me a battle that is worthy of a god, you can't seem to now go as far as to help yourself after seeing stars all around you following me dropping you on your head now, can you? No, you can't, can you? But either way, I'm glad that you're already back up and on your feet again. Grizzlor went on to then charge towards Broly, because I just love it when my prey goes and gives me a good enough warm-up before they are able to later then find themselves within the pits of my stomach. And so how's about some more then? Grizzlor went on to then dash towards Broly before having to be shown tackling right into him. And so aside from counting stars after slamming you around your puny little head, Grizzlor continues, I want to know on just where exactly did all of that anger that you had just go, because just look at you, thrashing about with no control, no strategy, and no means of being able to find an escape against me, mortal. For your raw power means nothing if you cannot wield it with precision, for what you see here standing right before you is the very embodiment of true might that has been forged through eons of battle, mortal. And while I must give you credit for having the courage to face me all alone with, dare I even say, impressive power to see come from a mortal, nevertheless, this next attack of mine will be just enough to annihilate you completely, but just reserved enough to keep you alive long enough until it's dinner time, Grizzlor continues. For your inability to control your strength was your greatest weakness, and while you are a force of nature, your aimless and chaotic ways of approaching battle are extremely predictable. But then, it was suddenly from out of nowhere behind Grizzlor in the distance where a giant light was now beginning to emanate as Grizzlor then went on to respond, great. And just what was that just now? Wait a second. Why am I now all of a sudden unable to sense the energy signatures of those other two runts, but instead, there appears to be an even larger singular energy in place of them, Grizzlor questions. Oh, well, no matter, because it's time to go and dispose of this one here before going after the other. But then, it was all of a sudden now shockingly enough from out of nowhere as Gogeta had gone as far as to speed blitz his way and grabbing onto Grizzlor's arm was when Gogeta then went on to respond, that's far enough, God of Destruction, for we aren't going to allow for you to continue to have your way with us like this, and especially not while I'm here to go and deal with you now. Wait a second, I don't remember facing off against you before, unless... But of course, the mortal Saiyans merged into becoming one, with you being the result of their fusion, aren't you? Yes, as now I see as to why
fire power felt so familiar upon approaching me. Well, at least now I could go and crush you both at the same time instead of having to pursue you both in battle, and so now make your move. But then, it was only just then suddenly from out of nowhere as Gogeta went on to kick Grizzlor away and having to create distance between them was when Gogeta then went on to quickly respond. That's enough, Destroyer, for the move has already been made, and despite with you forcing our hand in having us join bodies to face you, we are going to make you wish that you had never ignored us when you did after attempting to try and reason with you before, Lord Grizzlor. But aside from having to deal with you, which we will in a matter of a few moments, hello, Broly. Now, while I understand that it's been a very long time since you and I were last shown having to see one another, I want you to go and try to remember as to why you are here and who stands alongside you throughout all of this, because as badly as I can sense your anger upon seeing me begin to swell, Gogeta adds, you'll need to just go and try to calm down, Broly, as if you continue to lose control the way you currently are, then you'll endanger not just yourself, but all those who also choose to fight alongside you, Gogeta continues. And although you are not my enemy here, I just want you to know one thing, and that is if you try and decide to go and take any sort of action here against me, then I will not hesitate in reminding you of the beating that I once gave you if it'll mean putting an end to your rampage, Broly. For we are not on opposite sides here, and therefore I would hope that you understand as to where it is that I'm coming from, which is why I will need for you to try to remember as to who you are, and more importantly on who your primary enemy is here, because it certainly isn't me, and so we can't afford to screw this all up where it'll mean the end of us both if we do, Gogeta continues. And so now that I've made my intentions very clear, it's time that we go and put a stop to this bloodthirsty onslaught of yours, Destroyer, as I'll be your opponent from here onwards. As with Gogeta now having to be shown redirecting his focus and addressing Broly before having to battle Grizzlor was when Gogeta then went on to quickly respond. Now listen to me, while I know that the rage that burns within you is immense, I need you to focus because this isn't a battle that we can afford to lose, especially not now, and so I need you to try and go and control your emotions and stabilize your power, because there are many who are counting on you to fight with purpose here, and that includes both Shilai and Lemmo as well, Gogeta says. For Lord Grizzlor is a threat that is unlike any other, with his power being unlike anything that we've ever encountered in battle before, and so I'll need you to go and listen, Broly, for it was like I had mentioned to you before, because even though you and I aren't really known for having a passive history with one another, if you continue to lose control and if you become a danger to our mission, Gogeta continues, then you will leave me with no other choice than to deal with you myself, and you can make no mistake about the fact that I will finish you. Because although I truly don't want to go as far as to fight you, I'll do whatever I must to ensure that we can face Lord Grizzlor without the threat of your uncontrolled power getting in the way. And so with that said, you have been warned, Broly, and now back to you, Gogeta went on to then turn towards Grizzlor, because while I acknowledge your power as being nothing short of monstrous, Kakarot and Vegeta's fusion, on the other hand, brings together two of Universe 7's most powerful mortal warriors and magnifies their power far beyond where it once was, Gogeta says. For we will now go and ensure you that even a god of destruction such as yourself can also be challenged by mere mortals such as us in battle too. And while we don't have all of the time in the world to be wasting just standing around here talking to you, Gogeta says, what do you say we just go and skip the warm-up here and jump right into the action, since that's why we're here, Destroyer, with Grizzlor responding, yes, now this is more like it, because now we're talking. But let me ask you something, do you honestly think that your fusion makes you as invincible as you think that it does? Because you certainly wouldn't be the first fusion that I've went to war with against, but you just might actually be the last, for I relish at the challenge that you present, Fusion, as it's been a very long time since I felt so alive like this, for I will savor every moment of this battle, along with every cry of pain and every drop of blood that I can, in knowing that I was able to obliterate Beerus' absolute best, and by doing it all by myself. So prepare yourself, Fusion, for this battle is going to be unlike anything that you've ever experienced before, as I will go on to show you the true meaning of terror along with the true power of a god of destruction, the likes of which is feared by so many, including by your very own Destroyer back home, mortals. And so now don't say that I didn't warn you that this would go and happen, because first I will ensure that you see, and then I will ensure that you are all destroyed. So for your sake, I hope that you were able to back up the things that you had mentioned, because I most certainly can, Saiyan.
To which it was only then seconds later, as Lord Grizzlor was then shown powering up with fury and rage behind his intentions, was when Angel Generator then went on to chime in. Now I see, for I do believe that in order for Lord Grizzlor to be showing going this far and exerting all of his power on the surface to face off against the mortal fusion, would it only mean that Lord Grizzlor recognizes the threat of their fusion and is also looking to respond accordingly as the end result of their battle is to come, with Gogeta then having to respond, incredible, and so it's looking like he's ready to go all out against me, since he more than likely now knows that this is going to be the real deal from here on, and if that's going to be the case, and if he's planning to go all out against us, then we might as well just go and do the same. To which as soon as Gogeta was then shown having to jump from his base level all the way to Super Saiyan Blue, it had only become fairly evident now that both Grizzlor and Gogeta were looking to go all out from the very beginning, as Angel Generator then went on to respond, amazing, what an unbelievably astonishing battle power, as the fusion's transformation has brought forth a level of strength that I certainly did not anticipate would come from them, as their energy signature is unlike anything that I've seen come from these mortals before, and because if what I'm sensing that's coming from them were to be true, then it would seem as though their fusion truly may be able to contend with Lord Grizzlor's overwhelming might in battle after all. But although it's still far too early to tell, this here only now begs one very important question that remains, and that is which one of them will truly remain by the very end. Will it be Lord Grizzlor who will stand victorious over the Saiyans, or will it be the fusion who will shockingly prevail over Universe 17's mighty and fearsome god of destruction, alongside their ally Broly as well? Cause now I can't help but wonder on what the result of this will be. To which in the meantime, back on over onto the battlefield, as Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta was shown having to unleash a fury of attacks with Lord Grizzlor shielding himself, was when Gogeta then went on to quickly respond, it was a mistake to have continued to go through with this, especially since we tried to reason with you the first time, but now that we are at our strongest, it's time for you to go and see as to what Universe 7's mightiest are really all. It's time for you to go and experience firsthand on what Universe 7's mightiest warriors are really made of, Destroyer. Now this is more like it, Saiyan, and here I thought that I would have burned both of you to the ground by now, but I guess I was wrong to have taken it easy on you when I did, but make no mistake about it, you won't be the last man standing in the end, Grizzlor says, in which with Grizzlor then shown having to attempt to bite down on Gogeta, with Gogeta quickly shown having to lean out of the way, was when Gogeta then went on to respond, surprised by my power, aren't you? For I told you that this wasn't going to be as easy to deal with as it was when you faced off against Kakarot and Vegeta alone, but while I've went and faced many powerful foes in my time while separated before, there have only been a very few whom I've seen that were able to match our level of destruction and aggression in battle, Destroyer, but in the end it'll be your hyper-aggression and unstable nature that will ultimately be your undoing. And while you claim that we were the ones who were responsible for disrupting your plans to hibernate, since you seem to already be starving, then why don't you go and just eat that? But then, it was only from out of nowhere, just before Gogeta even had the opportunity to finish his sentence, was where Universe 17's God of Destruction Grizzlor had taken it upon himself to grab onto Gogeta's leg, and from there having to be shown slamming Gogeta down on the ground, with Grizzlor then having to respond,
enough of this, puny mortal, for let this serve as yet being another reminder among many more that I have in store for you, in knowing who and what you are going up against here, Saiyan. And so just because you were seemingly met with overwhelming odds and had overcome them in your universe before, it doesn't inherently mean that you'll be going and doing the same here in my universe, mortal. And so whether you've merged together into becoming one singular fighter or not, you won't be so lucky to escape me once I start to devour you little by little, Saiyan.
But then, it was only just upon with Grizzlor shown slamming Gogeta around with Broly quickly shown making his way towards Grizzlor was when Angel Jinbei then went on to chime back in. Oh, and there goes the wild card throughout this entire ordeal, for Broly's presence in this battle is a little concerning, but I figured that he would continue to lose himself out there and go right after Lord Grizzlor again. However, his actions, which are solely being shown driven by his instincts to survive, is what essentially makes Broly a significant variable in this battle, as well as also being an extremely dangerous one if this continues. But I am curious, however, in essentially being able to understand and seeing as to where Broly will stand if either one of them are able to push Lord Grizzlor off to the sidelines for a brief moment, because given from what I have seen and still continue to see that is brewing within Broly's very spirit, I honestly don't think that he will ultimately align himself in standing with the fusion, but instead, and I do believe that given whatever history that these two mortal warriors may share, Broly then went on to look on up by turning his head, will it not only be the trigger point in what will drive the Brood in turning against his fusion ally, but I do believe that this itself will now spark a new conflict between them, enforcing both parties to be placed against one another and finally settling the score between them.
Hey, whoa, just wait a minute down there. We aren't fighting against you throughout all of this, Gogeta went on to then plead with Broly, and so therefore we are not your enemy, Broly. So just try to calm down, because I really don't want to go and fight you, let alone even go as far as to hurt you, and so you've got to just take a second to hear me out and know that I am on your side in this fight. But it was already too late, because as soon as Broly was from there shown dashing right towards the sky with Grizzlor then shown having to sit back up was when Angel Jinbei went on to then respond. Well, it was as I thought, which only now means that with the Saiyan warriors now at war with each other, would it only go as far as to ensure Lord Grizzlor further victory against them, for this could ultimately be the greatest moments that he will have in catching them both when they aren't looking above, as I can't seem to help but wonder as to how this will go, to which as Broly was then seen attacking Gogeta with Gogeta shown having to put up his guard was when Gogeta then went on to quickly respond. Oh no, Broly, stop this madness and just try to listen. This is not the time for us to be fighting one another like this, for your attacks are putting all of us at risk here, and if you don't stop, then you will leave me with no other choice but to put an end to your rampage myself, and so I need you to focus, Broly.
But with Broly now beginning to show no signs of having to stop, but instead having to continuously attack Gogeta, was when Gogeta then went on to continue.
Oh shoot, it's no use. And with our attention redirected, there's no telling on what that God of Destruction is planning down there, and so therefore I am now left with no other option than to quickly engage if we hope to make it out of this in one piece. Alright, now you've got my attention, Gogeta went on to then dodge one of Broly's attacks, because since I tried reasoning with you earlier by reminding you of what would go and happen if you went and did this, since you aren't going to listen, then I am going to force you to listen whether you want to or not, Broly. So you puny little mortal rodents want to go and play a little rough, huh? Grizzlor responds. Well, okay, let's play rough then. So here, one for each of you, so that way we can keep this as fair as possible. Grizzlor went on to then spawn 2 Hakai orbs in his arms, and so now this is what you universal intruders get for coming into my universe and attempting to call the shots around here when I'm the boss. And so now this ought to fry the both of you enough to be consumed, and I can't wait, because I can already start to smell the taste of your flesh after giving you a good burn. Now here's to you both, Grizzlor went on to then fire up above, as I could go and care less on which one of you I were to destroy first, as I promised you both that you would lose, and that is exactly what is about to go and happen. Wait a second, and just what are those? Gogeta went on to then stop one of Broly's punches by having to look on down. Oh no, they're completely dense and extremely void, which means that God of Destruction is going for broke by trying to shred us both down to our very atom, and so I just can't continue to engage here without having to hurry and try to put a stop to this before it's too late. Damn it, and so now hurry and get out of the way now before those blasts are able to make contact with us. Gogeta then went on to push Broly out of the way, and so I've got to go and
and act fast because with no time left for me to spare, it'll all come down to this, and so I'm hoping that this works. So here goes, Punisher Shield! In which seconds later within that moment, as soon as Grizzlor's attack had made contact with Gogeta's Punisher Shield and creating a massive blast above was when Angel Jinrei then went on to respond. You know, I must admit that I truly didn't expect to watch this battle turn out the way that it has thus far, and especially when considering whom those mortals are going up against at the moment, but what I wasn't expecting to watch unfold was seeing the way these mortal warriors continuously try and find an escape method against Lord Grizzlor, more so when they all should have been destroyed far earlier than they have, and so I wonder what this means, as Gogeta then went on to chime in. Well, that was an extremely close one just now, but if I didn't go and throw that shield up in time, then that more than likely wouldn't have ended up good for either of us up here. But wait, there was a second attack just now, and so could that mean... Oh no, it does! Gogeta went on to then glance on over by seeing Broly struggle with the second attack, and as he's struggling to keep the attack from consuming him over there, but why isn't Broly trying to blast the attack away or do anything of the sorts to move it away unless... No, he wouldn't, but indeed Broly did, because as soon as Broly was from there shown out of rage having to redirect Grizzlor's attack right towards Gogeta was when Gogeta then went on to continue. Wait, no, what are you doing? We aren't your enemies here, Broly! Oh, damn it! It's heading right for me, and so just great! Oh, this is bad, and since Broly doesn't appear to be remembering what it was that I told him, but appears to be solely acting off of his instinct and likely his memory off of our battle from before, there's just no way of getting through to him like this. And with our power seemingly being dead even with Lord Grizzlor, as Gogeta continues, as long as Broly continues to get in the way of our mission to defeat Lord Grizzlor, then we're stuck. Oh, darn it, there's no use, Gogeta continues. His attack is way too strong for me to hold out on after dealing with the first attack, and with the amount of force behind Broly's throw and helping push Lord Grizzlor's attack straight into me, I didn't think that I'd have to go and try this, but if I don't go and do something right now, then it's all over. And so whatever happens now, I've got to place my faith within my ability to be able to pull this off, and so it's all or nothing. And so whatever happens now, I've got to place my faith within my ability to pull this off, and so it's all or nothing. But then, it was only just with Gogeta being overwhelmed by Grizzlor's massive attack, with Broly then shown having to blast into Grizzlor's own attack, was when Grizzlor then went on to chime in. Well, would you look at that, for it would seem as though your so-called ally still can't appear to distinguish friend from foe, which is exactly what I was hoping to have happen between you both. And so, now that one of your very own is occupying you for me and having to garner your attention in the meantime, you just went and made my job that much easier for me, and you didn't even realize it, mortal. Well, too bad, because it's your grave up there and not mine, Grizzlor went on to then clench his fist, to which it was only then as Grizzlor was shown having to do so, with a massive explosion then being shown taking place up above him in the sky, was when Angel Jinrei went on to then chime in. Well, what an incredibly massive and dangerously powerful collision, for typically if this was anyone else, then the fight between them wouldn't have came close in having it last for as long as it was shown lasting out there, but did it work on them is the question. I wonder now, because even though Lord Grizzlor's energy of destruction attacks are unparalleled by its very nature, I can't help but shake this feeling of uncertainty that I have, because I know that Lord Grizzlor can also sense something strange that is coming from above him as well, for the fusion's power has suddenly gone cold and disappearing without a trace, and so was Lord Grizzlor successful in eliminating the fusion altogether just now, or is the fusion up to something far more sinister up there? For I can't help but wonder on if this is a part of a much larger strategy on the fusion's end, or if Lord Grizzlor's attack had truly done what it was needed to do in eliminating them, and so I wonder as to which one it is, to which as soon as Broly was then shown having to emerge from the smoke and having to dash down towards Grizzlor was when Angel Jinrei then went on to continue. But of course, and while I knew that the monster Broly would still remain intact, only now appearing to be far more enraged than how he was shown being before, from what it looks like based on what I'm now beginning to sense, it would appear as though the fusion is not only alive up there, but what is this sensation that I feel that is coming from them, Jinrei questions? For their energy appears to be growing stronger and stronger, and so what could he be planning up there? Unless... wait. wait, is it possible that they are about to reveal the unthinkable against Lord Grizzlor? For if one of them is already able to wield it, then certainly that would imply that their fusion would be able to wield it too, but can it really be done? Because if what I suspect to be coming from within that dust cloud up there are to be true, then I'm afraid the odds that were previously shown being stacked in Lord Grizzlor's favor will no longer be at play moving forward if this were to be true. As with Grizzlor already assuming a premature victory and having to assume that he had beaten Gogeta with Broly being shown having to make his way towards him, was when Grizzlor then went on to respond,
"So you're still itching for more now, are you? Well, go ahead and come and give me your absolute best, because just like your ally who I was shown having to crush before your very eyes, I'll make sure that you are next to go, Saiyan."
To which moments later, with Broly then having to be shown colliding with Grizzlor and creating a shockwave all throughout the landscape, was when Angel Jinrei then went on to chime in, "And I see, now since Lord Grizzlor's attention appears to be entirely focused on Broly, despite with his raw power being both formidable and surprising to Lord Grizzlor, I however fear that Lord Grizzlor may in fact be overlooking a far greater threat to him that looms, for it isn't Broly that Lord Grizzlor ought to be solely focused on within the moment, but rather the fusion that awaits above. And as I fear that if Lord Grizzlor doesn't redirect his attention and ensures that both targets are defeated and defeated for good, then I'm afraid his battle is still very far from being over while being completely unaware of what waits for him above. To which it was only upon with Grizzlor shown having to uppercut Broly in the face before having to knock him away was when Grizzlor then went on to quickly respond,
"You see, did I not warn you that this was going to be what would happen the more you continue to try and engage me, mortal? Because if you honestly think that the pain is going to stop there, then just like your ally had assumed, you are in for a very rude awakening the longer our battle continues to be waged."
Now, while I hate to interrupt your battle against Broly, Angel Jinrei then went on to quickly intervene, but I do want to quickly interject myself here and say that I don't think that you should solely be focusing your battle here on the ground, Lord Grizzlor, for I do fear that you might be overlooking something very important that you may not be noticing within the moment, as Grizzlor went on to then stop himself by then turning around and responding,
"What? What are you talking about, Jinrei? What are you saying that I happen to be overlooking that is more important than the battle that is being shown taking place here in front of me?"
Well, what I mean is that your focus ought to be with what is above rather than what is shown here below, for I want you to go and look a little closer at the result of what was shown taking place involving the Saiyans fusion, for I don't believe that they are truly finished with you just yet, and so can you sense that too, my lord? As Grizzlor then went on to look on up by then responding,
"And what exactly do you mean, Jinrei? For I am not able to sense anything coming from up there. Wait, now I'm starting to sense something, but how are they able to hold out against both of my attacks like this, along with Broly's additional blast that was added on top of my own, for they should be dead."
But then, it was only shockingly enough through the smoke, as Gogeta in fact did prove to not only still be alive, but also seems to be harboring a brand new amalgamated power that combined the strengths of both Goku and Vegeta into one, as Gogeta then went on to quickly respond, "While you were quick to declare your victory over me by assuming that your attack would have been powerful enough to already destroy me, you went and made one very crucial error in your judgment along the way, Destroyer, for you went and failed to take into account the power that I bear, because now that I have taken Goku's instinctual evasion and combined it with Vegeta's destructive might, what you see standing before you now is a new level of strength that I have created that you have never seen before," Gogeta continues, "for this is not just a fusion of mere bodies, but a synthesis of the ultimate offensive and defensive powers merged into one, and while I can only maintain such a level and limiting myself to having to evolve any further than what my fusion timer can allow for me to handle, you will now come to find out that I will not be as easy to go and engage against as you've recently just experienced, Destroyer. And now that I can see on just how difficult you truly are to deal with in battle after momentarily having to battle you, you can go and set aside any hope that you may have had in defeating me, because now that I'm fully aware on just how strong and just how dangerous you can truly be by even going as far as to rival our Super Saiyan Blue form, what you will experience here and now will be far more than your body will be able to handle. And in case you were wondering, Gogeta continues, you can just go and refer to this as my ultra Destroyer form, and despite the reduced time limit due to our immense power output, however much time we are left to go and deal with you will be more than enough time for us to go and knock you out as a result of our up-and-coming and final confrontation, God of Destruction. And so if you thought that I was tricky to go and deal with before, given how you and I were nearly shown having to be relative in strength, then you have absolutely no chance of coming close and stopping what I am now, Lord Grizzlor. And so I will hereby go and give you one final chance. Give up and cease this pointless battle between us now, or face annihilation. So it's your move. Now what's it going to be? As Grizzlor went on to then look on up in shock by then responding,
Wait, you went and did what now? But how? How are you able to not only endure what it was that I was just shown throwing your way, but also managing to find a way to combine the Saiyans' Ultra forms into now being able to use Ultra Instinct as your base, with the power of a Destroyer as your offensive counter? Grizzlor questions. For there is just no way that what you are saying is to be taken as true, and that is because your immortal body would have already shattered under the extreme weight of the levels in which you are trying to bear, so that's impossible.
Well, if you're still in denial about what it was that I had just mentioned to you, Gogeta went on to respond upon Broly being shown rubbing his chin and looking on up, then I welcome you to try and call our bluff if that's what you think this is, and I'll be more than happy to prove you wrong upon the moment I show you, Destroyer. To which Grizzlor was looking to accept, because with Grizzlor then shown having to channel 2 Hakai orbs once again within his palms was when Grizzlor then went on to continue.
Why, you disrespectful mortals! Try and call your bluff only to prove me wrong, huh? Well, so be it then, because I highly doubt that your miserable fusion will be strong enough to go and endure the same onslaught again. As not only will I go on to overwhelm you both once more, but this time around I'm going to make sure that I hit you with enough force that you will never go and speak to me like that again. And if you haven't learned your lesson by now, then maybe this ought to finish you off, mortals.
What a shame that you newly resurrected destroyers are filled with such pride and blinded conviction that you fail to understand that times have changed, Gogeta responds. But since you cannot seem to want to accept the reality of what you're currently up against here, Destroyer, then maybe this ought to open your eyes to see the truth behind my power and why you will never be strong enough to overtake it, especially so as long as I continue to wield it in battle against you, God of Destruction. So even while you attempt to try your hand at directly having to go against me, Gogeta went on to then Hakai Grizzlor's attacks, let this be what serves as one of many of the examples that I will show you on why you will never muster the necessary power that is needed to overtake what I've become. And since your anger towards us has blinded you to the truth of the reality that stands before you, Gogeta went on to then blitz his way down, maybe now is a better time than any other for me to go and show you on exactly what it is that I mean when I say that you have no chance. My word, Gogeta's movements are absolutely astonishing, Angel Jinrei went on to oversee as Gogeta went on to knock away Grizzlor's second attack, for it is clear that Gogeta's mastery of Goku's Ultra Instinct is allowing for him to move with incredible precision, but what's even more astounding from what I can see is Gogeta's ability to switch in and out of using Vegeta's Ultra Ego within the blink of an eye, which is truly beginning to look as though it's starting to slowly take its toll on Lord Grizzlor, for this combination is proving to be far too overwhelming for Lord Grizzlor to bear within the moment. But even now I wonder on what Lord Grizzlor's last result is going to be if he simply cannot overpower the fusion and is left with no other reserves left, Jinrei questions. And because with Broly now having to be shown jumping back into the fray, Jinrei continues, this doesn't truly appear to be favoring Lord Grizzlor in any sort of way that he was expecting for it to be, to which upon as Broly was shown attempting to attack Gogeta, it was only once again made painfully clear that Gogeta really didn't want to engage against Broly, but instead tried to talk Broly out of this, as Gogeta then went on to dodge Broly's attacks by responding, and I tried warning you several times over, but you just didn't want to go and listen, and while your mind appears to be clouded by rage, I know that you can hear me in there, Broly, and while I can see that even you appear to be very surprised by the outcome of what is shown taking place before you, Angel, and I can assure you that even with my time shortened, I will still go on to defeat your God of Destruction and revert Broly back to his calm state of mind before my fusion is over. And so while I stand before you and asking you to once again cease your attacks and stand down, Gogeta continues. And I know that you aren't going to listen, and because I know that you simply aren't going to listen to anything that I'm saying, then you simply leave me with no other choice but to make you listen, Broly. And so you can try as many times and try as hard as you'd like, Gogeta continues, but without proper control over your power and without the ability to focus in and evolve yourself in ways which would be more proactive towards our cause, then you will never be able to break free of this curse if you continue to allow for this anger and for this rage to swallow you whole, Broly. And so now wake up and snap out of this mindset that is keeping you prisoner within your own body, Broly. For I know that you've been watching and I know that you've been paying attention while dealing with these newly resurrected destroyers. And so now go and get it together or you will be destroyed in the process, Gogeta went on to then knock Broly down. And so now what's it going to be? Because if you continue to try and engage with me, Gogeta continues, then I am going to either knock you out or you will die. And so now what are you going to choose to do? For I'm not going to go and warn you again. Do you hear me, Broly? And so you better be glad that I'm not giving it my all against you, otherwise you would have been destroyed. For I am not your enemy in this fight, nor do I want to be forced into doing this, and so now hurry it up and try to snap at. But then, it was only just then from out of nowhere with Destroyer Grizzlor being shown having to appear behind Gogeta and wrapping Gogeta up in a bear hug was when Grizzlor then went on to quickly respond.
The only one who is going to find themselves snapping here is going to be you, mortal, for how dare you go and turn your back to me? For I don't care about who you are or what kind of power you claim to have, for no one lays their hands on me and lives to walk away to talk about it, Fusion. Especially not you, that much I will promise. And so go ahead and try to resist, because I'm going to squeeze the life out of that body of yours before I go and devour it whole. Yes, that's right. And so which one of us would you want to go and start the countdown here? Because I'm not letting go of you until I know that you are dead.
But it was only unbeknownst to Grizzlor as Grizzlor went on to then look out into the distance and seeing Broly charge up for an energy blast within his mouth was when Grizzlor then went on to continue.
Oh, now what? And just what are you looking at, Saiyan? What are you gazing at me like that for? Thinking about saving your dear old Fusion, are you?
With Gogeta responding,
oh yeah, I know that look, and it isn't a look where he's looking to come to our aid, but instead Gogeta went on to then quickly spin around.
Well, you're about to go and find out the hard way is what I mean, Destroyer, and so now watch. And watch Grizzlor did, because even with Grizzlor refusing to let go of Gogeta, as Broly had gone as far as to unleash his mouth blast and having to catch Grizzlor from behind, was when Jinray then went on to chime back in. How very cunning of that Fusion to go and use Lord Grizzlor's massive size and weight against him and to have him be used as a shield like this. And as I feared that something like this would ultimately go and happen, but I truly didn't expect for the odds that were stacked up against Lord Grizzlor to come from Universe 7 of all places, but alas it did, Jinray continues. And while the Saiyans, even despite with Broly not fully working alongside Gogeta, continue to attack and stay on Lord Grizzlor, if this onslaught against Universe 17's God of Destruction continues without Lord Grizzlor's ability to counter their methods of attack increases, then I unfortunately do not see him being able to endure much more of this unless something drastic and sudden were to somehow occur. To which it was only momentarily after Grizzlor went down, as Broly was then shown having to dash at Gogeta yet again, was when Gogeta went on to then respond. It surprises me to no end to see that despite how many times I try to warn you to stay away from me, you still continue to try, even after having to explain to you that I am not your enemy here, Broly. But if you are that desperate for a reminder and allowing for me to go and show you on where you stand when facing across from me, Gogeta went on to then counter Broly's strike by responding, then I will gladly go and remind you of exactly why I am everything that you fear, and while I know that there is a part of you deep down that can hear me, I just want you to know that this ends now. And so I am done handing out any more chances, and so this ought to warrant you off a while I go and handle business in the meantime and finish this fight while I still have the time. And while I attempted to warn you several times over not to engage against me, Gogeta went on to then toss Broly onto the side, if you go and try to attack me like that again, again, then I'll make sure that it'll be the last time that you ever do. And so just do what you know is right and stay out of my way, Broly. And now, Gogeta then went on to quickly charge up for a massive Kamehameha. No matter how big you are or how strong you claim for yourself to be, I'll make sure that your rampage against us ends with this. You will never be strong enough to muster the power that is needed to break my spirit, Saiyan. Grizzlor then went on to suddenly respond, for it will be you who will be crushed by the fruits of your own failure, and so now come and show me what you're made of and hit me with everything that you have. To where shockingly enough, as Broly went on to then stand back up by holding onto his ribs and suddenly having to acknowledge the overall situation, was when Broly then went on to utter that attack. I remember that attack from a long time ago. And remember the attack Broly did, because despite with Gogeta unleashing a devastating and massive divine Kamehameha, with Grizzlor also shown having to erase the attack at the same time while having to crash through it, was when Jinrei then went on to chime back in. Now, as much as I admire the effort that these Saiyans were shown putting into trying to beat Lord Grizzlor, I do believe that it was a mistake for Lord Grizzlor to engage against Gogeta like this, but it's a call that just simply had to be made. To which it was only then with a gigantic explosion then being shown taking place, with Gogeta being shown having to also shield himself, was when Gogeta then went on to quickly chime back in. Oh, there, a direct strike, for he didn't even try to avoid it, but instead went right into it. And so, did it actually work is the question, because there is no way that he should still be able to still be shown standing after taking an attack of that caliber head on the way he did. And so did it work? Wait, Gogeta then went on to quickly continue. I think I'm able to see him. Yes, there he is. And by the looks of it, he doesn't appear to be in any sort of condition to continue with this any further. And so does this mean that he's down for good? Or was he momentarily just stunned and is planning to continue? To which, as Gogeta was then shown powering back down to his base form, was when Gogeta then went on to continue. Oh man, what a battle. For that God of Destruction wasn't letting up no matter what it was that we went and tried against them, but in the end, I'm glad that this is all finally over with, and my power. We've reverted back down to our base level, which more than likely means that our final Kamehameha must have drained the final bits of time that our fusion had remaining, since I already feel like we're going to separate at any given moment, Gogeta continues. But is it really over is the question, for I must be sure, because I can't just go on and take any chances while we're still fused. But then, it was only just upon with Angel Jinrei being shown getting in between both Grizzlor, Gogeta, and Broly, was when Jinrei went on to then stick his arm out behind them by then responding, whatever you're about to go and do, I would encourage for you to not follow through on, as I will hereby go and handle the situation myself, and ask that you all stay back in the meantime while I check in to see what Lord Grizzlor's condition currently is, for I will ensure to inform you all of what comes out of this once I am sure of the results behind your actions, and so please remain where you are. But surprisingly enough, just when Gogeta had assumed that this was all over and done with, was when Broly had appeared from out of nowhere by grabbing onto Gogeta by the back of the shoulder, as Gogeta then went on to respond, what the? Oh wait, you're still standing without falling back down to your base yet? Now just hold on for just a moment, alright Broly, because we can Fusion Warrior Gogeta, Broly went on to then utter. Thank you, I remember you, and I remember what you said, Broly went on to then shake Gogeta's hand forcefully. Whoa, no way, Gogeta went on to then quickly respond upon being shown shaking Broly's hand. You can actually talk while in that form? But since when were you able to go and do that? Because typically you're just out of your mind insane, and so this is new to me, but oh sure, I'm glad that we were able to, well, remind you of when we did. But then, it was only from out of nowhere with Goku and Vegeta then shown having to separate as Broly went on to then power back down to his base form, was when Vegeta then went on to quickly respond. What the heck just happened? Wait, I'm me again. Our fusion had completely worn out, with Goku responding, whoa, it did. How long was that? Like maybe 6 or 7 minutes? Because, well, that felt really fast, didn't it? And hey, look, it's Broly. Are you okay, Broly? Cause you don't look too good. And so I hope that our fusion didn't go and hurt you that bad now, did it? Because you know that deep down we really didn't mean to hurt you, you know? With Broly responding,
I think I'll be alright, but my ribs, I think they're broken because I was able to hear you from within, and so
thank you for sparing my life. As Angel Jinrai went on to then oversee Grizzlor down below by them responding, well, from what I'm able to gather together following your initial battle and devastating final attack against Lord Grizzlor, it would only now appear as though you have inadvertently knocked him out into going straight back into his hibernation, with Vegeta questioning,
wait, say what now? He's completely out cold? Indefinitely?
So we managed to lay him out to the point where he slipped and fell straight into sleeping from that, and so, he isn't going to be standing back up somehow and wanting to eat us now, does he? With Jinrai responding, now while I understand your notions of curiosity and concern surrounding what may come out of this very surprising yet interesting situation, and especially when considering that this has never happened to Lord Grizzlor before, you may all now rest assured that Lord Grizzlor will not be engaging against the three of you while in this current state that he is in, for he is only now resting and shall remain this way for the time being. However, in the meantime, I would like to go and have a word with the three of you, and so you will all stay right where you all currently are so that I may address you along with your actions along the way here today. To which all the while in the meantime, when then having to venture on back into Universe 7, in seeing as to how Whis, Beerus, and Gohan had finally arrived back onto Beerus' planet, was when Whis went on to then chime back in, and there we are now, home sweet home, am I right? Goodness, and what a brilliant and explosive conclusion to your training session as well, Whis continues, for I would be lying if I said that the two of you didn't already have me by the edge of my seat, but in the end, I am very glad that you were both able to pass, with Beerus having to then chime in, yes, and while I second on the idea of bringing Goku's son along to train alongside me, as good of a battle as it was, don't forget about the agreement that we had made to keep the results of our battle between us until further notice, Whis. Why yes, no, but of course, Whis responds, and as I'm sure that the results of both of you having to obtain such power will more than likely inspire the others to also go and do the same in no time as well, my lord. Hey Whis, I have a small request to make if it's not too much to ask for, Gohan went on to then question, and as I wanted to go and see if you could maybe change my outfit by giving me something new that blends together the outfits of my past that involve Piccolo and my father's, and so could you maybe just go and do that for me? With Whis responding, a new outfit that blends together the history of your masters, do you? Well, alright then. Now let's just go and see on what we can go and come up with then, shall we? And so while I may have a bit of an understanding as to why you want to go and change the design of your outfit, and I do in fact actually believe that this ought to be a new and refreshing take on your image, and especially when considering your newly unlocked powers, that is, and so there you go, to which as Gohan's outfit was now shown completely changing, it was only just as Gohan was then shown having to gain this new outfit by Whis was when Whis went on to then continue, and there, as I do find this blend of colors to be far more better suiting for you now that you're the strongest mortal among all those who exist within Universe 7, and at least for now, of course, until the others get wind of what you had undergone, but alas, here is your new outfit, and so what do you think? With Gohan responding, amazing, I didn't think that it would honestly look this good, but I'm glad that you were able to forge something that looks just as great as what you just made, Whis, so just truly thank you for that, but I also do have another question to ask you that relates to my dad and the others actually, so would you happen to know on where they all currently are, and if so, then would it be possible for you to go and send me into the universe that they are all currently inside of, Gohan questions? And I just want to go and check in with all of them just in case they are all in need of some kind of assistance wherever they may be, as Beerus then went on to chime in, yes, and I say you go and bring him wherever those other Saiyans happen to currently be within the moment while you and I handle other businesses in the meantime, Whis. And so where do they happen to be within the moment? As Whis went on to then respond, well, if you insist, and so now let's see, well, that's odd, for they no longer appear to be within Universe 16, but instead, well, they all happen to be waging a battle against Lord Grizzlor in Universe 17 at the moment, Whis continues, and by the looks of it from what I can see, it would now seem as though their battle against Lord Grizzlor is now over, and so if it is, then that's where I'll be sending you, Whis went on to then point out his staff by responding, And so alright now, for I wish you well on your journey on going and getting them all back, but, well, do please be careful and try not to get yourself along with the others destroyed if something were to go wrong. As Gohan then went on to respond, you can count on me, Whis, and with my newly evolved power in my back pocket, I'll make sure that nothing goes wrong in bringing everyone back here, and so thank you. To which as Whis was then shown sending Gohan off into Universe 17, it was only just as Whis and Beerus were beginning to gaze on up and seeing Gohan leave was when Whis went on to then continue, oh, and off he goes, for I do hope that the others aren't in a position where they will need Gohan's help, but, well, I do have that feeling that they have already engaged against Lord Grizzlor by now. But what do you say we go and grab a bite to eat in the meantime, Lord Beerus? With Beerus responding, no, I'm not in the mood to eat anything actually, and I don't plan for us to stay here for much longer than we need to, and so this is what I will need for you to go and do, Whis. I want you to go and get approval from the Grand Minister in allowing me to have my rematch against Universe 16's God of Destruction Reno, along with whoever else wishes to settle their differences with me, Beerus continues. For it's time to settle an old score, and a score that has been bothering me ever since it happened. And so I want you to go and take me to Lord Reno's universe as soon as you are given approval by the Grand Minister, Whis. For I have not forgotten about the humiliation of my defeat by his hands, as this time around I plan on having things end much differently than how they previously did, as I am going to make them all remember on who I am, Beerus continues. And while the defeat I suffered is but a blemish that must be corrected with my training completed, the power that I now possess will make him tremble in wishing that he had never went and made the mistake that he did, as I will force him to remember my strength, for he will pay for every moment of my humiliation that I had to suffer by his hand. And so now go and do what you must, and once you do, Beerus went on to then add, I want you to go and take me into Universe 13 at once, for the time has finally arrived, as it was only right then and there now during that moment where the Beyond Dragon Ball Super story of the Resurrected Fallen Gods of Destruction, the Universe 17 saga, then comes to a close.
Well, actually, I'll go ahead and take it from here, as I do want to go as far as to address something very important with our dear viewers at the moment. As before I go and give you the following information, if you aren't already a member of Unreal's Patreon community, then you are truly missing out on so much without you even knowing, because not only is the next episode already on the page, but if you want to support all of the manga content that you see and gain access to tons of exclusives along the way that range from a variety of different things, then we do encourage for you all to become members of our Patreon community today, for we will link everything down within the description box below and pinned comment section as well. Now I will go as far as to say that even though with this entire situation between our heroes and Lord Grizzlor now finally over, despite with the Saiyans nearly losing their lives in the process, if it had not been for them having to call for fusion at the very last second, I knew that our friends were going to strive throughout this battle to find a way to win, and they did. But I'm afraid that their journey is not yet over, for I do suspect that there will be some major turn of events that will follow after Lord Grizzlor's brief and sudden defeat, and so you do not want to miss out on what is about to happen coming up next. So we hope that you all enjoyed today's video, as before you leave, do make sure to give this video a thumbs up by smashing that like button on your way out, as well as subscribing to UnrealEntGaming's channel in case you are new around here. We thank you all for watching and hope you all have a wonderful day, everyone, as we'll see you all in the next one.
Hello! Did you know that you can stay up to date with the latest Dragon Ball content by simply subscribing to UnrealEntGaming?
Also, don't forget to follow on these social media platforms, you sexy son of a bitch.
Roshi!
Silent Cell, me and the fans are having a moment. That's right. I know what you want. Extra long, thick Dragon Ball content. Quality reviews with flawless editing. Yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you? You dirty bitch.
Roshi, the fuck?
God damn it, I need them to subscribe, Cell.
And we're demonetized.
Yeah, screw it. Let's cut to the video.